What's up, everyone? Welcome to Go Live. Sorry to keep you waiting, but come on, man. Good things come to those who wait. We have an incredible show for you today. We have two gents who are making their debut onto Go Live, and we've got Ace. I mean, yeah. How exciting is that?
Really damn exciting. We watched the Ubisoft showcase with Gaz. I've had an hour and a half with him, and I'm still here. I'm still kicking. It's fine. It was hard work.
It was hard work. This coffee's extra strong because we'll talk about it. We'll talk about the show and all these pretty saucy topics. But before we do all of that, we have to introduce these gents, both of whom are making their debut, and we always love it when we get new faces on the show. In no particular order, whoever smiles the most, I always go first. Boom, Strictly.
You already know, man. Strictly Gaming, man. I appreciate being here with my guy Gaz, man. Shout out to him. Shout out to Everborn. That's my guy right there, man. And just everyone, man. Just I'm happy to be here, man. Love talking games, love talking with dope people and the dope topics, man. You already know. Let's get to it.
Yeah, we will get into it. We have to get into a little bit of history between me and Strictly. We had some beef. He was repping PlayStation. I was repping Xbox. I did go a little bit wild, a bit hard, and I apologize for that. We squashed it in the background. But we'll still play COD. We play COD together. And we'll play against each other one day, although I think Strictly will beat me. But we've been playing COD, and in the show, which we constantly try and remind people, we're not, despite my biases, we're not an Xbox-centric show. We are all platforms, and we've had all kind of content creators with platform preferences all over on the show. And we're going to continue doing that. And what incredible guests this week in Strictly. Is an honor, man. And we'll get into it.
Yeah, and shout out to you, man. Us squashing it, you just, manning up, because, a lot of people can't do that, and, for me, just one of the biggest, factors for people to have is accountability, man. So, real big shout out to you, honestly, man. And, I apologize because I could have, came at it a different way. And I think we both agreed on that, so again, man, it's squash, man. We good. So you already know. Let's get to it, man.
Absolutely. And a shout out to Blaze, who's a friend of both of us, a mutual friend. And, he was the guy who kind of facilitated the ending of the beef. Of stupid shit. This is
absolutely, man.
All that. So it's silly. Shout out to Blaze if he's there in the chat. I know you're there, Sharmuta. You better be watching. Last but certainly not least, it is a man we've been waiting to get on the show for a while, but you're a name in the space. You've graced on several different shows, and your experience in this space is quite unique. Not only do you run some Everborn, by the way, both gents' stuff is linked in the description below. We will put that at the end. But Everborn coming here, man of many talents, with his own story, his own book, and now I hear rumblings of a video game. How dare you make us look so insignificant in
well, wait till you see the game before you give it too much praise.
Nah, man. Thank you so much for coming on, man.
Thank you for having me. And I just want to shout out Strictly. Listen, a lot of people talk the talk, but I want to shout out you and Persona specifically for those info spaces that you guys do about people that want to get into the tech industry. And the next time you guys are doing one of those, I'm always right there to lend a hand in any way that I can. I think that's dope, and I think more of us need to be in that field on the front lines of it. So I do appreciate that you guys do that, and just in general, as a gamer and all that jazz.
No doubt, bro. I appreciate you, man, and appreciate your knowledge as well, because you always bring knowledge to them spaces. So shout out to you as well.
Thank you.
Everborn's been dropping knowledge this week on Twitter as well, with some spicy takes on the gaming news, and we have some spicy topics absolutely to jump in. And I'm conscious of the time, and we have been late, so apologies, but there's a lot to talk about. Now, I know what you're thinking, the Jim Ryan salty, inadequate topic being the shitty showman that I am, or just to bait you out. I'm going to put that right at the end of the show. Oh, maybe in the middle. I'll keep you guessing. But first, the reason why we're doing this show an hour later is because we had the Ubisoft show. And if I knew how shit it was, I would have bothered doing it because it was so, well, I guess the numbers will be better now that off the back of that. But, wow. Well, okay. This is about you guys, the gents. You are the guests. Strictly, I saw your tweet on the Marvel Disney showcase, which we will touch on after this topic.
Yeah.
But did you catch this show, and what did you think of this show? Maybe I thought it was shit. A lot of people thought it was good, but it's up to you. What do you think?
I thought it was terrible. I mean, they wasted, honestly, it literally could have been an email. Like, let's just be honest. That show could have been an email and a blog about Assassin's Creed, and look, luckily, I didn't even watch the whole show. I think I watched I want to say about the last 10 minutes, man, and I dodged a bullet because I was like, man, why is this event happening? I mean, Avatar got delayed for a year, so we knew we wasn't going to see that. No, it's just a waste of time, man, honestly.
I expected a lot more. So in this show, if you did miss it, and we have a highlight reel where me, Cole, Hoggy, Safe, and Ace watched the show, but the highlight reel will be short on highlights other than our jokes that we kicked in the background. But they showed off Riders Republic going free to play. Riders Republic, forgive me, this may be my ignorance, but it flew under the radar so much for me that I was like, oh, when is this coming out? Only to find out it's already out. It's like 4 seasons or something, and now it's going free.
I want to give Riders Republic at least credit for one thing.
What's that?
That track that they played it with today was hard.
Oh, the music track.
Yeah, that's like the best thing going on for that whole show. I'm listening to it. I'm like, why am I bobbing my head? Oh, bars. Okay.
It's funny because I used to be hyped for Riders Republic when it was first announced, and then it got delayed. And honestly, man, it's just Ubisoft. They just look, man. I spoke on this the other day. They just getting lazy. Got lazy. To be honest, I don't really think it's the developers though. I think it's more executive management, direction, et cetera. But it's just terrible, man, because that had a lot of potential, and it failed.
I don't know if lazy is the word I would use. I would think more formulaic. I think they're playing it too safe.
Yeah.
I think they have a set of IPs that work for them, that are well known, and instead of kind of taking the chances and being the art house, because I always used to think of Ubisoft as like this big art house publisher, but now it's like, all right, listen, we got Tom Clancy, we got Assassin's Creed, now we got Rabbids, do it again, right? Yeah. That's what people know. But I do think that like that's a lot of games that they showed that they have in production, and it's a long pipeline, and a lot of other publishers are scared to show that. That's why I wouldn't say, and I know you were, because you didn't say like the developers, but like I think they're actually working really hard. They're just playing it too safe. But we know, and I don't know if we're talking about that, like.
Well, creatively, it's lazy. Yes, creatively,
exactly.
It's lazy.
Yeah, maybe lazy was the wrong term, but it was just, like you said, formulaic. I feel like that's probably a better term, because it's just, and honestly, even with the continuous, like the Far Cry 5 is really not that different from Far Cry 6, et cetera, et cetera. Assassin's Creed, same thing. I feel like if these games were presented better, then I would be more inclined to play them. It's just like the graphically, they don't look like a next gen leap. Gameplay wise, it does look a next gen leap, right? So it's just, I just don't see the point. But even if it was just the same games, but if it was presented better, like graphically looked better, and the gameplay looked better, then I would probably still get it, But I can't get what they're doing, man.
Yeah. Well, just on Ubisoft, like holistically, when you talk about how they are creatively and whether they're risk averse, they are and they aren't, because they're big IP and they're big budget games. There is a lot of risk attached when you're investing that kind of money into a game, and they are risk averse and they do stick to what they know, but they are also always the first publisher to support anything new. First publisher pumping out games for Kinect, which was unknown and obviously failed. First publisher, like major publisher, pushing out virtual reality games. They're all over everything new to try things and push them. They're one of the only ones, only of the major publishers, they're one of the only ones that are supporting Stadia and Luna fully. So they're not entirely risk averse. They're not entirely lacking creativity, but they're careful where they put their money. when they're talking the big
definitely
numbers.
out front on NFTs, but I think but I do agree, right? Because we can say that they're not doing new IPs, but they do have that Pirates game, and they just did Phoenix Immortal Rising, right? So they are trying new things, and we'll see how those work to varying degrees. But I really think they have to, and I think this is why they're kind of doubling down on Assassin's Creed and things like that, because it's not like they have like a big, benefactor or something that could allow them to make a multi-year bet and say, here, put $200 million into this unproven IP, right? You can't do that because for them, if a game doesn't hit, it could be like financial ruin. You know what I'm saying? So it's a hard, proposition. If I'm not saying that they should be acquired, but like if they were owned by Sony or Tencent or Microsoft or whatever, then they could probably take those bigger swings with longer budgets and push out some development dates. So you're not like on a yearly drip feed of Rainbow Six and Assassin's Creed, but it becomes harder when you're a standalone publisher.
I think in terms of risk, we talk about Ubisoft and taking risk. This showcase, there was a lot of free-to-play, a lot of mobile, a lot of DLC. Like, you talk about creative risk that these guys are taking. So now we talk about Riders Republic is going free-to-play. Now, isn't that, maybe oppose it to you, Asa, isn't that an admission of or acknowledgement that this didn't hit as... I feel like when games that don't launch as free-to-play games then eventually become free-to-play, it's almost an admission they failed on their first model, and now it's like, let's try this now as a last-ditch effort. Do you think that's fair, or maybe he's just adjusting?
I think it's a trap question. I don't know for sure, but there are people in chat saying that Riders Republic is only free-to-play for one weekend.
Oh, really? Okay,
that's not the impression that I got from the Ubisoft presentation whatsoever, where it was just on screen, but then I wasn't listening very closely to what they actually said, so they might have said something along those lines. The other one, though, Trackmania, was also listed as being free-to-play. So, chat, if you know better, if these are actually not free-to-play games, if they're a timed weekend deal that was kind of presented slightly strangely, then so be it. But going on the assumption that it is free-to-play, Trackmania is free-to-play. The whole thing is most interesting because Ubisoft have their own subscription service, very clearly. There's always a lot of talk about their subscription services coming into the likes of PlayStation Plus, Xbox Game Pass, all the rest of it. Obviously, we know they're in there to a degree, like their older games go in there. So when it was on screen, when we were watching it, I mentioned it's very likely to drop into one or both of those services in the near future anyway, because it's getting onto its year anniversary. It's about due to hit a service if it's not doing that well. Free-to-play in general, though, is an interesting contrast against subscription services, where the free-to-play market sits and what the value of subscription services is. If free-to-play, if a publisher like Ubisoft really goes all in and says, hey, this is the best money-making model for us, is to take down all the barriers of entry, make these games free, and then charge for cosmetics and progress and whatever else we want to charge for, then things start to look a bit funny in the subscription landscape. So it's interesting on that front more so.
Yeah, I've always kind of been of the mind where if you're gonna charge, full price $60, especially if you're gonna charge $70, don't also have the game be laden with microtransactions, right? Like, it's hard for me to justify. And if a game is $70 and I want it, I'm gonna buy it. But if I spent $70 on a game, I'm not going to be in there buying like extra skins and things like that.
We call it the Gran Turismo quality paradox.
Stop it. Y'all know the raps.
No, but listen, I don't listen. Ragnarok.
I know I ain't gonna let them. Yeah, already know.
Ragnarok, Spider-Man, Horizon, all that stuff is fine because Sony doesn't really kill you except for Gran Turismo. They don't really kill you with microtransactions. So if they raise the base price, fine. Where I took issue, especially, is if you're going to do something like a Battlefield 2042 or a Gran Turismo where you have a lot of microtransactions, so you are making up the money there. I just feel like make up your mind. Do you want to be a service or do you want to be a full direct? What is classified as a lot of microtransactions? If your business model is designed around keeping the game going via microtransaction, right? So, if if I go and buy Ragnarok when it comes out, right? They might have a DLC that comes out later. Here's a new story mission. It's $20 or whatever it is. I don't know. But if you're saying, okay, now you have to get all these skins and you have to get all these other things.
You can replace that term. You don't have to get a skin. But continue.
Yeah, but again,
let's talk specifics there. Let's talk about your angling towards Gran Turismo 7, which got ridiculed by loads of people for its microtransactions. You are a fan of GT7. You don't think it's egregious? What's your position on GT7 and microtransactions, Strick?
It's not a must. I don't need to buy the microtransactions in game. And even with that being said, there's only 3 of them. It's like I want to say $5, $10, and $20. I want to say is the options. I could be a little off, but I know the highest is $20, right? And again, a lot of the things in game are like you can literally earn it fairly. Like there's a bunch of races that's paying 100 plus K, whatever it may be, and you can easily earn up the amount of credits in game to purchase a car, whatever it may be that you want, in game only. You don't have to use none of your own money. And this is the thing about it. A lot of people that speak on GT7 as microtransactions, you don't even know that there's this free tutor where you go in and a lot of people create skins and decals and liveries for cars and things of that nature, and you don't pay for none of those. Mm-hmm. It's all free. So that whole, GT7 microtransactions narrative, that's done, that's dead. We can stop that because there's only 3 options.
Asa, do you want to counter that?
and usually the people who talk about this are the same people that's talking about Halo Infinite. And no shade to Halo, but it got the microtransactions in that game is iffy. So
well, it's interesting you say that. This is because I think that's like a two-way street, because a lot of the people that I saw complaining about the $20 cat ears in Halo saying, see, look at this, are the same people that said, GT7 microtransactions are fine. So I feel like it's a lot of that happening both ways, where people just kind of pick whoever their preference is and then say it's okay here and then not okay there. So I 100% agree with you that it's people who a lot of the times didn't even play GT7 that are telling you that things are egregious, but it's the same people who don't give a shit about Halo that are saying, I hate this, that, and that are optional, right? Like,
because it's just consistency. If you have that problem, my bad, guys. If you want that, if you have a problem with microtransactions in general game, then that's fine. I'm not trying to change your mind. It's just consistency that I want to see. That's all I want to see is consistency. And you never really answered the question. I want to know what egregious microtransactions are. Like, what is that in game? When I boot up a game and you see microtransactions, to you, what is egregious?
I think when I'll give you an example of egregious, right? Because I specifically did not get GT7 or Battlefield 2042 for 2 separate reasons. Battlefield 2042, I didn't buy because they took out the campaign. And that's literally the only reason I was going to play it. And I didn't feel like they should charge full price when you're taking away half the content. Right?
I don't think that. I disagree with that, but we'll talk about that.
Yeah. And then for GT7, in the same way I didn't care about Forza Horizon 5, I'm not really into racers, right? But judging by what I've seen where people show, like, there's this amount of money you have to spend, not have to spend, but that people are spending on microtransactions, it feels like if you have this much microtransactions, should it still be a full price game? But if it's not a service-based game, then fine.
Yeah.
What was the specifics with, because I didn't play GT7.
So there was only 3 microtransactions in the game, and all three of them are for in-game currency. Okay, that's it. And again, you're not.
No, but the game, either you grind to get the currency,
Or you
can
could pay those for those 3 options, and they fairly give you currency. Like if you can literally go look and they'll say like, 150K for races, 170, and things like, so you can literally farm these races and they switch it up. I want to say every month, so they switch up the races. And then there's another race that wasn't that much, but there may be another race that's like 200K. You could just farm that race and really do as much as you want. And there's a lot of the championships to where it has multiple races. And if you come in first place, you get like 100K per race. And then at the last race, if you win the whole thing, you get like 300K or something like that. So there's they give you all of the resources in the game to get what you want to get.
So here's a question for you. What do you use the in-game currency for in GT7?
To buy vehicles.
Do you hit a cap in terms of if you don't have like a high-end vehicle where it becomes difficult for you to compete later on in the game?
No, because the campaign, which are the books, the cafe books, they give you, I want to say, if you're done with the cafe books, you probably have about 70 cars off of doing that alone, and you don't pay for any of them. And it's a bunch of different ones. There's like the Beetle, but then you get like Ferraris. I'm not sure if there was a Lamborghini one, but you do get a Ferrari and stuff like that. So it's not like they're just giving you some, low-end cars and tell you, hey, go race this race, get first place to get 100K. No, it's not like that. Like in the books, you're getting Ferraris, and then you still earn money. Not to mention, if you finish the daily sprint, I want to say is what's called, or the daily miles, which is like you have to drive 26 miles or however much it is. And when you finish it, they give you a roulette ticket, and you can either earn money up to $1 million. Sometimes it's 500K, sometimes it's like 15K. So it just depends. But so they have that as well.
And how much how much are the cars? Like in general, if you want like a decent car that'll get you somewhere in the game.
With real cash money, you mean? Or
no. He means
the in-game currency.
He means in-game currency. You could buy a Bugatti for 400K. I want to say 405 to be exact.
Okay.
How long would that grind to take?
Not long, because honestly, you can go do it a championship. And it's one race, or it's 5 races, but you get a certain amount each race for. And I want to say if you come in first, you get about 95K. If you get the clean race bonus, I want to say it's additional 15%, whatever it may be. And then if you get in first place and then win it as a whole, you'll end up having like $1 million in your bank, and you can go buy a Bugatti and you can tune it up how you want.
So I guess here's a and I apologize for sidetracking us here, but I guess I'd ask you strictly, what would you consider what is your relationship with microtransactions in general? Like, you don't have any problem with them at all, or you just are happy with the GT7 implementation?
Go ahead, guys. No, go ahead.
I was going to say, Dan Lazaro, for the first time in his life, makes a great point. Thanks for the super chat, Dan. He says, didn't Gran Turismo 7 change its microtransaction model after all the outrage? Because I think they did make massive adjustments, didn't they?
No, he's correct. It did change, or the microtransactions didn't change. The races changed in which how you get currency. And like I said, there were races where you can farm and get a bunch of money, and the championship itself. So at that time, like when it first came out, I want to say you would get 400K off of the GT championship, but it would take like an hour. You're probably looking like an hour and a half max to finish that championship, because it's 5 races, and one of those races is 2 long laps. Like it takes about an hour and a half. But at the end, you're getting 400K. But that was before the patch. I want to say now it's up to like $1 million or something like that. But all I'm saying is, at that time, they were still giving you decent money. It wasn't like crazy over the top, but it was. Yeah. You can still get that money. I just think it was
overblown.
Yeah, it was definitely overblown. And come on, let's be honest. Like, these publishers, they tend to listen to the crowd, whether something's true or not.
Fair enough. I mean, to be fair, the problem with Gran Turismo 7 was the reviews preceded the microtransactions, with the way that was handled. There was a lot of controversy around that, but you get the benefit of the doubt because you have played Gran Turismo 7. You played it, I'm sure, more than all of us. I even saw some fiasco of someone accusing you of buying your credits, but you didn't, and all that nonsense. So I'm well aware that you have played it more than probably all of us. I haven't even played it. I've got the game. I haven't played it. But that's the point. So we've hit the segue from this conversation on microtransactions and Ubisoft.
So we haven't, because I wasn't quite done.
Sorry. I thought you were. Sorry.
No, that's all right. So Gran Turismo 7, very, very key difference between Gran Turismo 7 and Halo Infinite is Halo Infinite's microtransactions are restricted to the multiplayer component, which is an entirely free-to-play game. So that comparison doesn't massively work for me. For me, you asked a really good question though, Strictly. You asked, like, effectively, where is the line? What's an egregious microtransaction? What's an okay microtransaction? For me, Gran Turismo 7 very much crossed the line into egregious, because I'm playing that game and it's prompting me every time. It's like it's waving cars in my face that I haven't got enough money for, and saying you can go and top up some credits if you want. And I think if I've paid for a game, there should be no point in that game where I'm weighing it up and saying I can play for an hour and a half to get what I want, or I can spend $7.99. That's pervasive to me. That ruins my fun in the game. And everyone's going to be different on that. I appreciate that people aren't going to have the same lines. But for me, and games are complicated, so when you have a free-to-play game, when you're a developer and you've made a game, you've spent between 3 and 6 years making it, the cost is very front-loaded. And if you're making a live service game, it's not necessarily unfair to charge an upfront price for a live service game when you put all that work in. There's some logic to it. But for me, and everyone is going to be different on this, I'm not an arbiter, but for me, if I spend full price on a game, it should include everything for at least a year or two. That should be their go-to.
Forza Horizon 5? It just sounds like your beef with the whole thing is the way it's presented. Because I'm pretty sure you can buy the Forza Horizon 5 and the cars with credits. No, was it?
Forza Horizon 5 didn't know. So Forza does have a history of doing that, and they got reprimanded heavy for it, and they haven't done it since. 5, so and Forza Motorsport, I think 6 might have had it, but 7 and Horizon 5 definitely don't.
So do you play Call of Duty, or when GTA 5 came out? Because we can use this. We did not hear this issue when it came to GT 5 and Call of Duty, which drops every year.
Shark cards
have definitely taken a fair amount of heat. Like, nobody's a big fan of shark cards.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people gave like Activision shit for the. I don't know if I can curse it out. I'm sorry.
You can. This is an adult show. Come on, everyone.
I don't have to bleep. No, but they gave Activision a lot of what with the Diablo Immortal game, right? With how those microtransactions were set up. So, and again, I think Ace is right. Everybody has their line. Personally, me, if I spend full price of the game, you have to do a lot to get me to spend any more money, unless it's like a big sort of like add-on to the game. But I'm cheap, so don't listen to me. Right?
I'm the opposite. I'm terrible with my money. If I pay £70 and something shiny, I will pay for it. I don't know, the line is different for everyone, so that's a very good question. What constitutes egregious microtransactions?
It's just the line got to be consistent. It can't go up and down depending on the console or depending on the publisher or developer. It got to be a straight line, and most of the people complaining about it don't have a straight line.
Shit, I agree with that. But it's true, and then bringing it back to Ubisoft with this whole model of Ubisoft. This is going back to Ubisoft. Microtransactions, we can talk about this for a while. I think we've had a good discussion on it, but I am a bit confused about what... Okay, let's talk about the good stuff there. The Division DLC, I don't really care. Rainbow Six Mobile, there, I'm not really that excited for. Assassin's Creed, like the show got semi-saved at the end of it. But I will say this, I'm surprised. Why is no one throwing or not that many people throwing hissy fit over the fact that we didn't see any gameplay for Mirage? I was expecting gameplay for Assassin's Creed Mirage, not CGI. No, so we had a Safe and Colt. They were really happy. They're massive Assassin's Creed fans. I completed the first game, almost completed the second, and I'm just there. But Mirage excited me because, for me, it stripped away all the RPG bullshit, all of that and silliness. It looks like it's going back to its core. So I was really eager and excited to see how they're going to execute this. How can they trim all the extra fat? But we didn't get to see that. Now, what did you think, Strictly? You watched the showcase? Are you a fan of AC Mirage, and what did you like? What little was shown?
No, because it was just CGI. I was expecting gameplay like you were, because they kind of hyped it up like we were definitely going to get gameplay, and we got zero. Yeah. So I can't even be, I can't really be hyped for Assassin's Creed, because I still want to see more from Ubisoft, given what they've given us, in the recent years. So, I don't have the show is terrible. I can't even give it a score because it was that terrible. It was just a real waste of my time, man. Again, luckily I came kind of halfway through, because I would have been pissed if I just wasted my time. Because a lot of people
was watching Central, man. That was good.
Yeah, and a lot of people were watching the pre-show and everything, so it was just like, come on, Ubisoft, man.
Yeah, what we doing here? I mean, Everborn, did you catch the showcase?
I did catch the showcase. So I've just been in the comic space for a little while, and kind of watching the sort of rise and ubiquity of, comic book culture, and seeing how it's growing now, and watching all the people that are creating entire channels just to create controversy about hating on whatever the new, comic book IP is. I think that as we get older and as these things that we love get bigger and, they begin to be marketed towards a larger audience. And I know that us in the gaming community, every time we hear something is on mobile, we start to roll our eyes, right?
That's true.
But yeah. I think the fact is we have to look, all of us that have children, look at our children and see where they game the most. And it's really, like, I don't have any hard numbers, but like
mobile and handheld type device.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And so they are very comfortable with that. And these companies are thinking 5-10 years out. Because listen, I hate to say this, console gaming may die with us and it will evolve into something else. And it will be this kind of thing where people are gaming on their mobile devices or in the cloud on big screens and things like that. So they're taking that leap. And I, just as someone who has developed several mobile games, their mobile platforms are way more complex than we think. And if we doubt that, I would look at some of the things that Gameloft has done. I would even look further at Genshin Impact. If you like, a lot of people don't know that game is
a mobile game.
On mobile. Yeah. And so, we have to just, the point I'm coming to is that we have to understand that this thing of ours is not only about us. And so when I go to any of these shows, I say, listen, did I see 4 or 5 games? For me, then it's a W. Because if not,
what the name?
I'm not saying that this was a W. I'm just saying that's my bar. I got to see 4 or 5 games that I know.
Even if none of them you're into, though? Like even if none of the games you're into.
Say that one more time, Sugar.
Even if none of the games you've seen are into, because you said. But that's what I said. It has to be 5 games that I want to play before I say it's a W. So I don't mind that there's a lot of stuff that's not for me, but there has to be something there for me. So I'm just saying I don't get pissed off when I see mobile, because a lot of people see that and roll their eyes. So that being said,
if it's skewed heavily, if you have because this show was free to play and mobile a lot. Assassin's Creed goes to China, and boom. Mobile, and that kills a lot of the hype. Yeah, it just does, because it's you're not going to explore it in a proper, fully formative way in the traditional console or main game experience. So that was what.
Would you? Yeah. So do you or do you guys have any kids that play Genshin Impact? Because that's a fully realized.
That's an outlier there. That is the outlier. That Genshin Impact.
My hope is that they do something like, if they can be as fully realized as a game like Genshin, and I hope that that's what they're going to do. But I do think of all the publisher shows that we've seen in the last year or for 2022, right? Or since last year, because I know the year's not done yet, right? Like, if you compared this to a Square Enix show, who would you say would come out on top? Or even that Disney show? To me, I think it's true what you said. Assassin's Creed saved the show, even though they're doing 35 different Assassin's Creed projects.
And that's the Ubisoft problem. They rely on the same formula, and they will churn that out like the factory that it is. Now we were talking about this
formula because it works, though.
But that's because Assassin's Creed is the only real Ubisoft game that's really selling. I mean, Rainbow Six Siege, has an active player base, so that's kind of different because that's the last service game. But Assassin's Creed is the only title That's truly
the big one.
Yeah, that's why do you think we got 3 Assassin's Creed?
But this is the thing.
I think we got 4.
We get 4?
Yeah.
Jesus,
Got
man.
that.
So you got Assassin's Creed Infinity, which
Well, that's like a launcher, though, right? It seems like that's what they were saying. It's a launcher for all the other Assassin's Creed games, or did I interpret
what is
that
this
wrong?
multiplayer?
It's a linking platform,
game.
yeah. They didn't particularly describe it as a launcher, but yeah, it's something that's supposed to link all of the experiences together. The Infinity thing.
Which is weird. You've got Assassin's
it's like Master Chief Collection, right?
Yeah. Like
Maybe
the
I'm
Master Chief Collection, but except it works. Maybe it might be like that. The details are a bit scarce on that. You've got Assassin's Creed Mirage, which looks great. Like we can talk about, but there's no gameplay. It's going to Baghdad. It's going back to its roots. So strip it away. But then this is the one I want to talk to you about because they've just confirmed something that a lot of people have been asking for a long time, and I don't know why. Because after Ghost of Tsushima, I think Assassin's Creed Japan has some challenges and perhaps problems. So Assassin's Creed is going to Japan. Fans have been asking for it for ages. And I just don't think I'm. And the funny thing is, Mirage is stripping away all the fat and going back to its basics.
They actually confirmed that?
Yes, they have.
Yeah, I don't think it wasn't confirmed by Ubisoft. It wasn't it wasn't confirmed. That was a rumor.
That is going back. I think they pretty much acknowledged that. That's
yeah.
They said they
I
want to
guess.
focus on stealth, but I didn't hear them saying they're taking away hit points and things like that.
They're taking away the RPG elements and stuff and tiered stuff. That's what they've confirmed, as far as I'm aware. And it was in the showcase, right, Suffolk King? But the next one in Japan is not doing that. It's embracing carrying on. Same team that delivered Valhalla, carrying on with the same formula.
You think that's
RPG
coming out
elements
anytime soon?
So they 2023 for
Japan.
Mirage. The next one, no fixed date, obviously. No, 2020. The Mirage doesn't have actually a solid date. This Japanese game will be, don't know when, 2024, beyond. No fixed date for that. But it will be. The problem is Assassin's Creed is going against what I think was the better Assassin's Creed game, Ghost of Tsushima. Ghost of Tsushima, I personally am not a fan of Assassin's Creed game because they're so formulaic and the Ubisoft formula. The only game, or one of very few games that I do tolerate or actually like, is Ghost of Tsushima, that less arguably has that formula. But it did it so well. I wonder if Assassin's Creed has a challenge there. Chat, let me know if you think Assassin's Creed might get murked by Ghost of Tsushima. But what do you think? Strictly, did you ever play Ghost of Tsushima? What do you think about Assassin's Creed?
You got the platinum trophy for it. I mean, I agree that it follows somewhat of that open world formula, but just some developers do it better, some publishers do it better, and they found creative ways to make it feel like you weren't necessarily doing just a copy and a paste, typical Ubisoft game. And again, it's kind of this is what I meant when I meant presentation and gameplay. Again, it was an open world, open world, combat, not combat stuff. Yeah, Assassin's Creed, basically, and it's just like when you think about it, how it was presented. The graphics, how beautiful it looks, the gameplay, how smooth it was, the combat, it wasn't just your button mashing combat.
Combat was amazing.
Yeah, it was amazing. So it was just like those elements made you not even think about it being an open world game. Same with Horizon. Yeah. So I mean, obviously that's a different genre, or whatever. But you get what I'm saying. It's just they find ways to make it feel like you're not doing just a copy and paste open world title. And both of them do it in different creative ways. So,
yeah, I think that's another important point you're making there, Strictly, because a lot of the times it's just like mobile. When we hear open world, a lot of the time we roll our eyes, but it's really it's all gonna live and die on your implementation of that open world, right? How dense is it? How is your exploration set up? And
good point.
A formulated game is going to be formulated, whether it is linear or open world.
And look how the game started. Like, it captivated you as soon as you started the game.
The story beat was strong there.
Yeah,
the story beats really did carry Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah, it was
But
like
what you're suggesting is there's a lot of prettiness to highlight, then you'll take, if you're distracted enough, I think we're hitting the half-life of this formula. Even if it goes Tsushima 2, I think it's going to be judged more strictly because of the fact that, okay, we had it. We've had this Japan. We've had the setting now. It's not the same, done prettier, won't fly as well. So Ghost of Tsushima 2, if there's a one.
Not really, because Horizon Zero Dawn in Forbidden West, I mean, they took a generational leap in regards to combat, but the game was still beautiful. It was still open world. I just feel like, the developer needs to have creative ways on how to make it feel like you're not doing your typical stuff. And that's why I
think Elden Ring slaps all of that. I think Elden Ring is a slap in the face of all of those things, which is why it's so wildly successful. Because it doesn't throw.
I didn't play it. I didn't play it.
You should definitely check. That was.
I would like to know what your opinion is.
The most hours of any game this year.
I'm not a big Souls person. And it's more of the aesthetic than anything. It's that whole Dungeons and Dragons type thing. I've just never really been into the aesthetic, so that's why I really don't play Souls games. Souls is another one.
This isn't Elden Ring is not what I'm same as you. I hate the whole. I've said this before on the show. The orcs and the knights and all that stuff. That's kind of lame to me. Elden Ring, kind of like that, but it's freaking weird, man. Like you get some next level shit you want to see. Like what the hell is that? It's freaking weird. Like Bloodborne, it was like really weird kind of style, but. That was Ubisoft show. I don't know, Asa, do you have anything to add about? You've got a multiplayer-centric game. You've got AC Infinity. There's Launcher. You've got Game Mirage, and you've got Japan.
What about Hexy, though? What is that like?
Hex is the multiplayer game, no? The shared world multiplayer.
I thought Infinite or Infinity is the multiplayer. Maybe
this is so confusing. They announced like 15 different things.
Mirage is the next major one that you're speculating or has been confirmed is going to be more stripped back to how Assassin's Creed used to be. The Red one is the one that's set in Japan, so codename Red. This is the one that's supposed to be an RPG again, and is another full-fledged game. There was the mobile one, and there's a Netflix mobile one, which are two distinct games as well. And Hex, we only got a very small teaser, and they did not say what it is. So we don't know if it's multiplayer, if it's anything else. Infinity is the package hub thing that's going to revisit other games in some way that we don't know about. They spoke about multiplayer on that one. That's the more connected experience. And I don't care about any of it because I don't play Assassin's Creed games, which is no secret here. So.
Asa's not a stealth fan. We know that.
I played Valhalla. I get I'm sort of consistent on Assassin's Creed, but I can't tell you the last Assassin's Creed game that I've finished because it's like you'll get into the opening of it and then it just begins to feel like a chore.
That's my problem with Assassin's Creed. Here's a shit ton of icons on the map, and you're like, oh, bruv. Well,
it feels like I'm clocking into work when I go play it, right? So,
exactly.
But and one thing I noticed that the presentation though that Strictly was talking about and you were talking about, Gaz, it is super important because I remember looking at the opening of Valhalla and the story was great, but there's something that felt off about the voice acting and there's a certain magic to conveying emotion in digital characters' faces, and none of that. Yeah. You don't feel any of that in these Assassin's Creed games. So it's like this would be interesting if you just kind of took the time and just went that extra 10% to give it that level of detail that will draw people in, so that these characters don't just feel like robots on a screen.
I agree, because the original Assassin's Creed Valhalla, like the story trailer, like the first CGI trailer we had, like that was fire. And I felt like they should have had a good build up when you start the game into the story, because then there's like this tension build up, there's this kind of hype level to where now you're just ready to get in the game and just do whatever they have to offer in the game, but it doesn't. Ubisoft they haven't been giving us that in the beginning of the games, and your hype for it just dies off very quickly. Because there's no tension there. There's no there's not a thought process to like, hey, I'm trying to hurry up and get done with this so I can, go over here and do X, Y, Z so I can get X, Y, Z, right? So that's just kind of how I look at, Assassin's Creed.
That's how I feel like it as well.
One last thing
like,
that's very important with game design is player onboarding. And I feel like that's where Ubisoft could kind of, or I hope that they do, because what they do is they'll give you your intro and then immediately like, okay, here's the hawk, here's all these icons, pull back, you got to go here and do this thing. And it's like, it's so overwhelming that you just feel like, all right, I'm not experiencing something special. This is just here to take my time.
If you look Ghost of Tsushima, contrast that, the play animations, the faces, the voice acting in that, the story, like I was on it.
Those things
like,
make you want to learn the systems of the game. So you have to have something. It's not just that it's pretty graphics. You have to have something. And I think what Sony does really well with a lot of their games is that emotional connection that you get to a lot of the characters in their games make you want to dig deeper. And then you realize there is a full game here. Yeah, that's
the strength on PlayStation games, are the narratives, and this is where Ubisoft falters, is what Sony does well. They nail in the visual fidelity. Obviously, they're like, Sony games are right at the top. Then they've got the voice acting. They look at The Last of Us. The Last of Us, the move series?
Yeah,
that actually might, despite its good actors, might actually be, in my opinion, has a hard task of matching the acting in The Last of Us 1. Like, the voice acting is mad. Like,
I suspect that a lot of people who played the game and are very familiar with it are not going to like the show, but I do think the plot is compelling enough that a lot of new people that maybe aren't gamers or just haven't played those games and don't know the story will love it.
Yeah, they will. But if you could compare the quality, this is the Last of Us is a gem in that. Along the very few that come close to it, like Rockstar will come with GTA 5's the story beats and just. But in terms of seriousness, visual, mocap, voice acting, all of that full package is what Ubisoft needs. And for me personally, that's not there. Mirage might actually bring it back, but I am under no pretenses that I think it'll deliver a strong, like at that level in terms of, and it's cross-gen. So J-Rock shared that on Twitter today, and I was like, oh, well, yeah, it's cross-gen, and that immediately killed my hype a little bit. And
I hope that the one in Japan is next-gen, and I hope that if they're working on it now, they take their time to kind of make it something special. You know what I mean?
Please be next-gen. Oh, that's a good segue actually into another topic. So Ubisoft show, I'll give it a freaking D. But in terms of next gen only, Cyberpunk 2077 got murked, and rightfully so, at launch. Absolutely disgustingly inefficient, just broken last gen ports. But it seems to have a bit of a positive boon in terms of public looking. Even I was very critical of Cyberpunk 2077. I'm quite excited because Phantom Liberty, the new update, looks amazing. And it's ditched last gen. So hurrah to CD Projekt Red for taking that bold step and forsaking that. I think that helps them not worry too much. As Acer's, you played it on here. Acer, you have a 3080 beast of a PC. I remember you bought this game day one, had lots of bugs with this, people like standing like that and all that shit. You haven't gone back to playing the game yet. What's your take on the way this looks now and ditching last gen? I'd love to know your take.
Yeah, it's difficult to give them entirely props for ditching last gen post-release at the point in time that they are now, but it is probably good for the game. It's probably a decision that they should have made a long time prior for the sake of quality. Again, commercials come into it way too heavily, as you'd expect, because they're spending a whole lot of money on this, but Stadia can run it. The Cyberpunk has got a lot better since launch. It is still fundamentally the same game as it was, but it does mostly work now. It performs just fine on the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series consoles, both of them now. There is a video on our channel that went over the update that brought the next gen version. It's very playable, but I've seen a lot of people actually. So they've added a little bit of Edge Runner content, and they've given us this teaser for this DLC. And I've seen a lot of people, mostly people that have yellow chairs, and said that Cyberpunk was great from day one. A lot of people saying that now is the perfect
Yellow
time to get back into it. Yeah, just like every other point in time has been the perfect time to get into it. I'd personally, at this point in time, the game works now. If you're looking for something to play, then it's adequate. You can go and do that. But with this DLC coming and this DLC being positioned prior to the ending of the game, I think it's a weird time to start playing. I would wait for that DLC to drop and then pick it up and have at it personally. But
Wow.
So I am like a cyberpunk apologist, and I'm not. This is a
You man.
no, like I when I say apologist, I mean I like the game. Like I initially got it for the series console, and this is a fun story. I played it for like an hour and immediately went to Micro Center and went and bought a pre-built 3080 rig, and then I bought it there, and that's where I ended up playing it. And I finished the game. I think I have like 85 hours in it or something like that. And once they put out the next gen patch, because I really wanted to play it on Xbox, I've never been able to go, not never been able, but never wanted to go back because my save is on Steam. But now with this 1.6 patch, you can, it's like cross progression. So now I can go back and take that game where I've earned everything and go and play it on the series console. I have everything, but I prefer to play on the Xbox. So I do want to play it there, and that's when I want to play it. But I also said I'll come back when there's a story update, when there's a campaign update, and this is it. So they're speaking my language. It sucks that they ruined the launch the way they did. I won't apologize for them for that. But what was saddened me about that game is that there was something special there with the story and the world they created, but because they bungled the launch so bad, it just became like the whipping boy, and they deserved it, but there was still a good game in there, and I wish more people got to experience it.
I'm definitely salty about Cyberpunk because it's just, I'm a big fan of that whole, that whole world, the whole futuristic
Cyberpunk futuristic.
Yeah, cyberpunk, theme. Like,
world.
Yeah, like I'm really into that genre. So it's just to see them really fumble that is I'm still salty about it. And I have it on PC. I'm gonna go back and play it. Ironically, as I said, I'm gonna wait for the DLC to drop. And I'm gonna go and play it at that point. But for now, I'm just not really touching it. And like you said, they should have scrapped the last gen versions of that game. Day one, yeah, man, and it's just unfortunate, man. And that's on the publisher, yeah.
I think it's okay. I'm not gonna get
I have I guess a broader question, because I see we're seeing this.
Executive management is what I meant. Not the publisher.
I actually put a bit on devs as well, because you have to have some talent there, bruv. Like everyone says, it's always management, but
I think because they can't make those decisions, and I know most people, not you specifically or anything like that, but a lot of people, at least on Twitter, they like to have this conversation in a vacuum, and you can't really do that. Because like when it comes,
I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that. Because when we can have it here, bro. Fuck it, Twitter, man.
Yeah, man. It's just
lazy.
It's just like, man, it's like some of it was on the devs, but when it comes to developers, I blame like gameplay design decisions and things like that on the developers. But when it comes to this specific issue, like again, Cyberpunk, Battlefield 2042, Anthem, Halo. But the three prior, when it comes to these titles, all of them are due to publishers pushing it out before it's supposed to come out. And so these developers, they end up having to work overtime. They sleeping in the office because they have to work overtime to get these bugs finished. So that's on the publisher, executive management.
Absolutely.
Somebody in the chat, 99 Rukin said QA never gets enough smoke.
Now, QA's got a hard time, by the way. They don't get paid anything. They get paid shit pay. They have to work a lot, and they don't get enough props for all the work they do. I would say that. I've never had the benefit of working as QA tester, but I've heard a lot about that. Here's a
question: Is this just going to be a world that we have to live in, where when you have these larger type of games, that it's probably just better to give it a year before you put time into it? Because I really thinking like we buy all these things day one, and then they come out probably before they're ready. And then we always hear these stories where they take all this flack day one, and then like a year later, 2 years later, everybody's like, yeah, man, give it a shot now. And is that just the nature of, like big sort of game software development? Like, is that, because I feel like it's more and more often we're seeing it. Is this just what it's going to be?
Yeah, because they keep pushing out games faster than what they want them, faster than what they should. They always want to get them out at a specified time frame. So yes, a lot of it is definitely on the publishers, not 100%, but definitely the majority of it goes to the publishers. Because again, these games are coming out, and it's not. And we think about it. We always have this. You see a lot of these opinions, right? When it comes to the gameplay, the potential is there. Well, yeah, the potential is there because the gameplay mechanics in general are dope, but there are a lot of bugs, a lot of glitches are in there, and guess what? Content falls behind that. It's literally the same issue with Anthem and Battlefield at launch. And
Absolutely.
so when you tie those together, I think that's just what it is, man. They just don't have enough time, and then they get behind the ball because again they got to work overtime. And I'm not trying to necessarily not put any blame or not hold the developers accountable, because we need to do that as well. I just think that there's certain times to do that, and this is a large issue in gaming, period. Because you see it a lot. You honestly see it a lot, especially with third party.
Yeah.
But isn't it sort of that these games, like, not the only reason, but another factor is that these games are just becoming more and more complex, and these systems that are interacting with each other that cause these things to happen?
I don't fall for that excuse. Well, games, they're also becoming derivative. They're building engines, and they're in a way to future-proof these, be able to churn these games out. I don't think that's an excuse. Yes, complexity in game design has increased, but that doesn't excuse the myriad of bugs, despite the delays and the big budgets that they enjoy, especially from the big three, like 343, for instance. What's their excuse? They got a gigantic budget for Microsoft, flagship title. Forters on massive big team battles broken for a month. They want to shift a game a year before it's even ready and do it piecemeal. There is a problem there. I know there's a nuanced topic there, but we can get into that. But I'm just conscious of the time and the super chats that have been coming in. Thank you, everyone, for those. Let me just quickly, Danny Passion Official, thank you for the $2 super chat. Goes, Halo panel, give a saucy show. I think you would say hello, but I don't know, because Halo does feature prominently in our conversation. Shout out to you, Danny. Untitled 27, thank you so much for the £2 super chat. Goes, gotta say, 3 badass settings for AC coming our way. And that's really a lot of what Colt and Safe were saying in our. They were excited about.
I was actually hoping that the Jade one was for console and PC, because I feel like Ancient China is a
bit of a loss. It seems like a bit of an afterthought if it's on mobile. That's what I feel.
I know.
Forget the kids, man. Stupid kids and their shit, man. Kids. I want to play a game, proper game, not some kids play in China. I was like, all right, I want to see a proper
Gaz
Chinese
is kicking over pillow forts like Snoop and Baby Boy.
Hey, man, because it's like the thought of having an Assassin's Creed game in Japan is crazy, but the second they announced it in mobile, it's like...
No, well, Japan is not mobile. It's the one in China.
Sorry.
The one in China.
But that's like saying Black Myth Wukong is going to be a mobile game, right? You don't want to hear that.
If I was to hear that, I would be immediately disappointed. Like at that point, I'm not even looking at it the same.
But I do want to say, I want to stand on my soapbox I'm self-interested here, but as somebody who develops, and the Redlands game that I'm making is also going to be for console and Steam and all that, but there's also a mobile version of it. Mobile gaming has come a long way, and absolutely. I feel like we are all kind of collectively shitting on mobile gaming. We should take a look at some of the higher end stuff.
Rainbow Six Mobile looks good for a mobile game. Genshin Impact, outlier. I think before we can say that we're shitting on it unjustifiably, we need to have a series of W's in the mobile space before we can say, all right.
And I think two things. Number one, mobile gaming has came far. Call of Duty is literally launching Warzone on mobile. So that says pretty much all you need to know in regards to how far it came. It came. But this is the thing also. When it comes to mobile gaming, it's not that we're afraid of mobile gaming, we're not into it. It's just we don't want it hindering what we enjoy. So that's like a lot of what people
pricing models and stuff like that,
and not even pricing models. Just we don't want it affecting how we game. So I primarily game on PC, my PS5, right? So I like sit down on my couch, comfortable at home, playing on a big screen TV or whatever. But I don't want PlayStation or anyone to just focus on mobile gaming and then kind of push the key PlayStation players or whoever their fan base is kind of to the side for mobile games.
We talked about this last week. We talked about PlayStation buying that mobile publisher.
Yeah, and that's
they go where the market is.
Yeah, I don't. But
that
I don't
might happen.
Yeah, but I don't really foresee that happen. Not right now. Not like near future. Just because. And look, businessmen are always going to say kind of what we want to hear as consumers. But look, Herman Holtz has mentioned many a times that their focus is always going to be on AAA development. So. I mean, I believe them because they haven't shown me otherwise. They have not shown me.
So, but I do think, and Hargeet Chneet in the chat brought up something important. I think the way you kind of bridge that gap is cloud, but the cloud is not there yet. But I'm sure it will be to where you can not have to sacrifice your development. Yeah. Right, you can still make a AAA game, but you're streaming it to these mobile devices, and then it can be played on the big screen. I think that's the end game where everyone is being served. Like these companies can make the money they need to make by having a larger addressable audience. Because that's another problem, right? The console market has not really grown. Revenue's grown, but if you look at the number of people, the real growth is in mobile. And so any of these companies would be foolish. Sony, Microsoft, whoever would be foolish not to address that market. And they're not really playing there now. But if all of that money is being made across the street, you can't tell your shareholders that you're not playing in that world.
Yeah, that's why that's a reason PlayStation is bringing games to PC. They see 1.7, 1.8 million PC gamers. Yeah. So they want to tap into that market. I mean, it would be crazy.
Mobile as well. Right?
Mobile is more. Yeah, I was just using that as an example. Just kind of what we was talking about. But yeah, mobile's even more. So it's I agree.
Shout out to, by the way, this is ridiculous, Hoggy and Shabs. Hoggy has given away a code for Assassin's Creed Unity Global, Assassin's Creed the Global Key, Assassin's Creed Black Flag, the SEO Collection, and Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and then Shab's giving away Cyberpunk code. And now I can find these. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've lost count. So 5 games you've just been giving away. So shout out to the two gents. Please chat. Show some love to Hoggy and Shabs for being very generous. Every week they give away codes. That's like 5 games Hoggy's giving away. Shabs giving away Cyberpunk. Guys, it's too generous. We don't ask them to do it. They just do it. I see it at the same time as you do on the chat. So if you do claim those, please let us know if you successfully claim those. But honestly, the generosity always astounds me. If you just count how much money they're just giving away to you guys, there's no incentive. They're doing it.
Shout out to them, man.
Yeah, shout out. That's from their pockets, man. So shout out to them. Danny Passion Official, thanks so much for the $5 super checkers. Microtransactions shouldn't be allowed on a $70 game except for Call of Duty. Sony fear. Forza Horizon 5 killed GT7.
That's false.
Source! It's an arcade game versus I think
that's false.
Forza Motorsport and GT7. That's the real battleground.
Yeah.
Let's see who wins that one. I think I know who will.
I agree with that.
All day. Forza will shit on GT. Sorry. And next topic. Strictly slow. Hoggy, thanks so much for the.
I'm gonna let you get away with that one because for the sake of time, we go forward. No, I'm playing.
Thank you for the $5 super chat, guys. I have no issue with mobile games. Just release them on cloud, console, PC, mobile. The way I get Assassin's Creed Jade as a full game. And Huggy, I think, and this is what Everborn you're alluding to, the magic formula where everyone gets served all these fully fleshed experiences that we typically get on a core gaming devices. I know Asa loves the word core gaming, but then stream to the cloud. One day the tech will get there. I saw someone in chat asking about what about data? Well, we'll worry about that later. Drawn TJ, thanks so much for the $2 super chat. Hi guys, hit the like button, everyone. Thank you so much, Drone DJ. Smash that like button because we have quite a lot of topics to cover. We talked about Ubisoft shit show. I don't want to talk too much about Marvel Disney showcase because that was even worse to me. Well, was it?
Yeah.
Was that really a showcase? It felt like
that
It could have been an email.
But I feel like
another
I was actually told, because I do Gaming Circle podcast with Kay Asante. We did it earlier.
Shout out
and he
to
was
Kay
telling
Asante.
me all of the info about, because they really didn't show you anything. Like right now, they showed you this Tron game. What kind of game is that? Anybody
It's a
know?
visual novel.
Right, like
Just
As
so
Dusk
dumb,
Falls.
man. Tron Legacy was an incredible movie.
How would you know that?
I don't know. I saw it on the article. Didn't see it from the fucking trailer. Yeah,
right. It's
stupid.
And a lot of it, I'll tell you, I'm not even gonna lie. I am, because I'm a sucker for the 16-bit era. That's when I came into gaming, and they showed that that Mickey Mouse Metroidvania game. That's probably the one. Well, it's one of the few things they actually showed you gameplay for. I'm kind of excited for that. Like, I will play that, and I will tell my kids not to touch Daddy's save. Right. But again,
do you ever play the Mickey Mouse, the original platformer? That
what
was
do you mean,
so good.
Fantasia?
I think it was Fantasia. That was actually amazing back in the day.
Yeah.
That was amazing. But yeah, it was shit. So you had Tron Identity, you had Midnight Suns, which Zorka will be happy about. The card battle
Can I say something
Marvel
about
Snap.
Midnight Suns? I know that they said it was like a SOCOM style, but mixed with like cards and things like that. XCOM, sorry.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like they've been hiding the gameplay for so long on that.
That's great.
That feels shitty to me. Right?
That means like why you keep showing CGI trailers?
If that is the game you're making, just own it. A lot of people like that. I don't, but a lot of people like that kind of game. Show it.
We're not expecting visual stunners, especially if it's an XCOM type of game. It doesn't need to be, I guess, but when they're heavy reliance on CGI all the time, they did that with the Aliens game as well. I forgot the name, and that also doesn't look that great. Finally, they showed some gameplay for it.
And I want to say is what's called.
Yeah, I think it's that. I think you're right. Aliens Fireteam. But yeah, I mean, they actually showed some gameplay for Midnight Suns here, and it's like,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. That they finally showed it now. When it's like, I don't know.
I'm not really personally excited for it, but I do want to play XCOM. That's something I actually missed out on. Black Panther and Captain America will star in a mystery title. So they kind of left out the big announcement, but with nothing to back it. So the show had potential, but they didn't. It's all like in the air, just vapor.
Fun fact, if you stay till the end, and I know most people didn't, Wolverine and Spider-Man actually did show up in this thing. They did a sizzle reel, and they showed like a half a second of the Wolverine with the claws coming out. The same clip that from the Sony show, and the same Miles Morales standing next to Peter Parker from the Sony show as well.
Just now on stream. Yeah.
So theoretically, the insiders were right. They showed
Before I move topics of this, Asa, do you have anything to add on this incredible showcase from Marvel or Disney?
I'm looking forward to the Marvel thing like someone. I like tactics games. I like Fire Axis, so their XCOM games and all the rest of it. That's about it. I think Mav was talking about the mobile Pokemon Go one. It's Pokemon Go like. So their mobile AR game that they're doing with the Marvel characters. I don't know anything about it. I'm not going to touch it myself. Don't like going outside, but conceptually interesting.
Yeah. Any of those.
Yeah. Before we move on to the big topic on the Jim Ryan and the Call of Duty thing, I do want to quickly touch upon Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2's AI. Now, if you haven't seen that, I don't know why they didn't push up video on it, although it said just send you a link for it on WhatsApp. But Call of Duty, me and Strictly, we're big COD fans. COD Modern Warfare 2 is one of my most anticipated, probably my most after God of War. And what shocked me.
No Sonic Frontiers?
No, not Sonic Frontiers.
What? No.
I'm playing Sonic Frontiers before I play God of War.
Sonic Frontiers.
That's your loss.
All right, you guys don't know what you're missing, but I don't want to derail the show with Sonic talk.
You're lost, bro.
I like Sonic, but I'm not going to. You had to bring the Sonic there. There wouldn't be a show with you without. You had to bring Sonic in there. But Modern Warfare 2's AI is very impressive. Now, based on what they've shown in this video, now I didn't expect Modern Warfare 2's AI to be improved, because Call of Duty has very routine AI routines, pretty standard there. But this Intel drop, J-Rock shared it to me, and I just brought it to my attention. I was like, they've really gone out of their way to go. Well, we've always said on the show, AI is so woefully, like, literally underdeveloped in this space, that I'm shocked that Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 is doing it, and I'm very pleasantly surprised. So I'm super hyped for Modern Warfare 2. So there's that. Also, yeah, it's going to be a fire game. A pre-order on PlayStation, so you can get it to play it early, and on Xbox, because that's how sad I am. But that game is going to be incredible. The video, I'm sorry, Acer, was that mobile format. Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know why they did that. That is worthy of a full video to me. Xbox released this new controller. Now, the UI is shit, in my opinion. I don't know if you guys have seen it. Strictly, I know you're not a massive Xbox player. Have you seen the new Xbox user interface?
No, I haven't. I've seen the controller, but I didn't see the.
I saw the UI. I could barely tell the difference. I know all the tiles are now the same size, and you don't have a big one. But it's like this still feels like Windows 8 design, live tile design, right? Like I thought that there was going to be an update to bring it more in line with like Windows 11, and that is not the case at all. And it's like I don't even know why they have background images sometimes on the Xbox, right? One thing I will give the PlayStation 5 credit for is, when you change the, whatever you're highlighting, the background will change based on that game. I just wish they were doing more of that. And there's so much more potential here. And they just made a huge deal about this. I don't know. It's underwhelming, and I wish they would do more. I feel like with everything they've done, it does look like it's faster, but it still feels cluttered to me. We'll see when I get it on my Xbox, but it's not working for me right now. But I've seen people do mock-ups where they just kind of move the icons down like to 3/4 down on the screen, and that looks great. You do that, and you do the splash images based on what you're highlighting, and there you go.
So I saw Idle Sloth, he's got Xbox Twitter user. He shares our stream. Shout out to him. I think his account's been banned or something, but he shared
he got
really good.
Back. He got
another one back.
Yeah.
Oh, he's back now.
But that was because of I heard it was because of the Ubisoft thing. Like he shared something early and then.
Oh really?
That's what I heard.
What did Ubisoft show that was worth banning? Because the actual showcase was shit. But a fan made UI that he shared, and I'm trying to find the original back to the blades. Now, I think a lot of people say it's nostalgia, but the blades were so clean. This new updated blades video with...
It really has been downhill for Xbox UI since they moved away from the blades.
They keep changing it, but it's just to me, it's ugly. It's like all this iterative stuff and nothing is hitting. But the blades, they still work. Games in one space. The only problem is there's no ads there. So I don't want to talk too much about the UI stuff. The new controllers revealed Elite controller, but I'm telling you, I bought this. This is stick drift already. I bought the first Elite controller day one that had stick drift. I'm a bit burnt by it. I'm not gonna be a mug.
That's why I'm holding off on the PlayStation custom controller that they just announced. I'm kind of holding off, man, because the stick drift. I already have stick drift issue with the DualSense controllers. Specifically the red one and the black one. But so these stick drift issues, they gotta stop. These controllers they cost way too much for us to have.
Way too much. To break like that? Nah, I'm not getting mugged off again.
I want to wait until there's an Elite Series 3 before I get one, because I do like the share button. And this is still the same old one with a new color. I will say, though, this is a fun fact. The only company to solve the stick drift issue was Sega with the Dreamcast. They used electromagnets to get it to kind of come back to the center. If you still have a controller laying around, you can go look this up or just YouTube it. But even if there's Dreamcast controllers today, all these years later, 23 years later, no stick drift. Fun fact.
Yeah, well, the quality speaks. I had a Dreamcast controller, I had no problems with it, and I used to play track and field on that thing and beat the shit out of that controller, and that controller still never had problems. But the Xbox controller, I've had myriad of problems, but that's been announced. And I'm not going to buy that. And a lot of people were like, let's wait and see, because a lot of people have been burnt by that.
Did they announce a price for the Edge controller? PlayStation?
Not yet, no.
Don't think so.
Okay.
Don't think so. That'll be interesting to see the price for that, though.
So
That's look impressive, though.
So Everborn, I don't want to see you talking about $70 games on Twitter when you're okay with buying another controller that's practically the same.
I will talk about $70 games, sir. No, but here's the thing, and I'm not wearing my Charge Them More shirt. My problem, and I'm well documented in saying this, it is not on Sony for charging more.
I know, man. I know.
I do want to say this. My problem has always been the people that say they're happy to pay more. I think we're all going to buy what we see value in. But if you complain about any other price hike, could be a car, could be Jordans, could be anything else, people will be like, yeah, that's messed up. The price is high. You got it, though. And they'll pat you on the back. It's only in gaming where people are like, how dare you complain? So that was always my thing. It's not. So I'm not privy to Sony's development process and their budget and their distribution pipeline. They're doing what they got to do. I'm just bad at people that's telling you to shut up, because it's a known thing. You complain about a price. This is the nature of bartering since the beginning of time. The person selling you something charges you the most. The person buying something wants to get the most for paying the least. And it's weird that we get here and it gets like that. So that's all my
I didn't mean to take it. I was just just saying.
Oh no, I like it so much. And I'm trying to sell these t-shirts. I got the Charge Them More t-shirt.
Make sure you send me the link.
I got you.
And we'll give you both gents a chance to actually share, because I didn't do that at the start. Normally I ask the guests to explain their foray into gaming, but we'll do that right at the end, actually. So apologies, I missed that. Shabs, shout out for being a member for 12 months for a year, because Gaz pays me to put out the codes. I joke, it's for the community. If I did pay you guys, I'd be broke, because you guys put out a lot of codes. Final topic. Oh, Strictly, you're gonna love this one. You're gonna love the sauce, bro. Jim Ryan is not happy. This guy is threatened. He's scared. He's pissed. He's mobilized. I'm hearing all kinds of different takes on this. And here comes freaking Hoggy Channy with a $20 super chat right on time. After Jim crying Ryan, he says, wrote such a great, adequate offer to Phil when he bought Bungie. He was expecting more from Phil. Phil should just give Activision to Sony. Think of the PlayStation gamers. Do you expect them to buy an Xbox? Well, that obviously being a bit facetious there, but absolutely the spirit of this, and I did a video on it, on Jim Ryan has come out and he has said, he actually spilled some beans on what actually happened with this whole deal. So there's a little bit of naughtiness on both sides. Well, I say naughtiness on both sides. Xbox have been giving a very different impression, in my opinion, of what the permanence of this deal. The way they market it.
But go ahead.
Yeah, well, they make it sound like it's permanently on, and it may still be the case, but they say it's permanently multi-platform. COD will always remain on PlayStation, and they're telling the FTC and then the regulators in these press statements. Phil Spencer's giving a very different impression, because I was quite frankly surprised when Jim Ryan has come out and said, well, okay, I don't agree with his logic, but the thing that was quite surprising was the fact that Microsoft has only promised to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation for 3 years after the contract between for PlayStation and the Call of Duty pre-existing one comes to an end.
Jim Ryan basically said, "Stop lying." That's
Jim Ryan is saying, "Stop lying." It's like,
he's like,
why
"Stop
are
lying!
You lying?
You told me something completely different, but you're trying to, you're trying to make it look like you have this certain image, and it's not like that. Like, stop lying." That's basically what he said. And look, I don't think it's ever going to be exclusive to Xbox. I just think from a business perspective, that would just not be the smart thing to do. So it's probably going to come down to, maybe exclusive content, just things like that. But it would be dumb. And again, this kind of goes back to, Jim Ryan. Look, he told him it's inadequate. So obviously we're not going to know that information. We could speculate all day. We're not ever going to find out what that information is, but it's definitely interesting to really know what it will end up being. I mean, we'll know when that time comes, when it's, when the partnership is over with PlayStation.
Well, Jim Ryan, it has been quite, let's say, judicious with the truth as well. So I'm waiting on Sony said they offered 3 years. Has Xbox offered anything after that fact? Did they offer more? Yeah. Has their position changed? I don't know. But 3 years after even if you take the 3 years, this deal is supposed to end at 2024. Even 3 years after that, 2027. How long is COD still going to be actually that relevant? The game industry can change. I still don't see. I don't agree. I know Call of Duty is a force, but I don't agree with this thing. Like, without Call of Duty, Sony's going to collapse or it's going to fail. I just find a little bit.
It's definitely not going to be that. But nothing can really compete with Call of Duty. It has a very loyal and stable fan base. Me being one of them. So it's just. And it's about mind share at the end of the day. It's about, having that master to where when people mention COD right now, they think of PlayStation, so it's really, that's what it comes down to, man. Mind share. And most gamers on COD play on PlayStation. Let's keep it real. Now, the question is, this is the thing. There's a lot of casuals on, Call of Duty. A lot of them, they play about 1 hour, 1 hour and a half a day. They battle microtransactions and call it a day. So the question is, will they purchase another console to play that game?
And it's also
a good question,
because when hardcore people that only play COD, right? So they're not hardcore gamers, but they're hardcore COD gamers. And that's what I'm getting at. So we'll never know those true metrics because being a hardcore COD player is different than being a casual COD player. The person who because that's who they are targeting. That's why skill-based matchmaking exists. That's why all of these things exist. Think about it. These people, they just buy the latest bundles. They play it for a day, an hour and a half, and then they go about the business. But the hardcore COD players, they're going to batter microtransactions and stuff like that. But they're hardcore COD players. They're going to play regardless. So again, that question, we don't know those true metrics of who's who, but will those casual players buy a console just to play COD?
That's a very good question. When the ABK deal happened, I know when someone I work with who is literally the mainstream COD player, plays COD and FIFA, that's it. Even though he's never owned an Xbox, he's always paid PlayStation. He's just like that. He asked me, he goes, "Oh man, do I have to buy an Xbox now to play Call of Duty?" And the question is, how many people will actually make the jump, not just ask that question?
So let me, if I may.
Absolutely. Why not?
Yeah. Okay. So there's a few things here. I think we've seen, like, during the 360 days, the premier place to play COD, was on an Xbox, right?
Oh yeah.
And once Sony got the marketing deal, it didn't mean like Sony never had it exclusively, but they did have exclusive content, right? There were exclusive modes. I don't know if there's still, because I haven't played COD since 2014, so you guys are gonna have to.
It's usually timed exclusive content,
right?
And usually the content isn't even good. Like Modern Warfare 2019.
But what about the zombie mode? Because I remember not being able to get that a while back on Xbox.
I don't think that's never been an exclusivity thing though.
It was time though, or no?
No, it wasn't time. But the only thing that was time from recent history, I remember, and there's probably more in Cold War, or in Modern Warfare 2 or whatever. But I want to say it was Modern Warfare 2019 when it had the Spec Ops mode, and it was exclusive for a whole year.
Okay.
And it wasn't good, but I mean that's beside the point,
I think In the chat, they're saying they've had exclusive maps or something like that. I don't know. Like I said, you guys are the COD players, not me. But I'm saying that to say, once people know, like when the marketing says, like, you know, when there's COD printed on the box on holidays, when all of the commercials don't mention the other platform, and when there are perks to this marketing deal that they have, there are a lot of casuals that say, if this is the premier place to play COD, I'm going to move over. And I do think that the calculation is, one, they may never take it off of PlayStation. I think they just want a rolling contract because, Gaz, you're a lawyer. Would you suggest any of your clients promise something in perpetuity forever?
It's not feasible. You cannot do that. You cannot promise something in perpetuity. There are too many variables there. So you can't commit to something. You have to understand the FTC and this exercise is largely political. A lot of political grandstanding. If anything, Jim Ryan, if you're to believe his three-year deal, then it proves a lot of what Xbox Phil Spencer is saying is posturing. I know you linked this tweet, and the wording here is that they will remain on PlayStation under Activision's existing deal, although they'll offer to extend it on a multi-year basis. But that doesn't align with what Microsoft is actually saying about its intention. It draws parallels with Minecraft, all of that. Now, to your question on whether or not casuals will make the jump based on exclusive content, they don't give a shit that much about that. It's the fact that when you tell them, I'm not paying anything, I'm not paying 70 quid.
It wasn't for the
on Game Pass.
It wasn't for the exclusive content. I was saying, will casuals that play the game for an hour and a half a day or every other day buy a whole new console to play COD?
Well, but here's what's interesting about the timing, right? Like, because if the existing deal ends 2024, this Brad Smith also, which is Microsoft's lawyer, they also confirmed that back in February. This is why it's weird to me that people are saying they changed. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. If that deal ends in 2024 and they're extending it for 3 more years from then, we're talking about 2027. 2027, 2028 is probably going to be where the next generation is. So people theoretically would be buying a new console at that point anyway, and then they would have that. I think the 3 years was very deliberate because that's when they estimate both Sony and Microsoft will be making new consoles, and customers will have to make a choice at that point.
I can see that being the reason, but I don't think that automatically means that they're going to go get the new console.
Well, I disagree with you there, but I'll touch on that. But before we do that,
just real quick, and I'll be as succinct as I can. So, I personally, and I'm not just saying this now because this news came out, I was never under the impression that they were going to offer it forever. I was always under the impression that they were going to do only what was explicitly mandated to get the deal done, right? And when they said Minecraft, I don't know if you can directly compare Minecraft because Minecraft is not specifically a yearly release, right? They're not going to pull like Warzone off in 5 years, right? The same way they don't do that with Elder Scrolls Online and things like that. But new releases coming out, even if they never take it off, I think they want that 3-year window because the threat of removing COD from PlayStation may be more valuable than actually removing it. Because if I'm Microsoft, I can say, listen, in 3 years, you are gonna remove your cross-play tax, or maybe you're gonna not lock down whatever content, whatever they want to get done. And if you don't do this, then we'll just remove COD. But the question is, how many, and this is again why I think it's like a rolling contract, because at the end of this 3 years or 5 years from today, provided the deal closes and the existing contract ends in 2024, in 2027, once Xbox is considered the premier place to play COD, will they move over enough people so that the sting would not be as painful as if they just day one pulled it off? Because if they can pull over enough people, then it'll no longer be that PlayStation is the number one place to play COD, right? So you're not going to get the Strickleys or the Personals of the world because they play PlayStation for other things besides that, right?
And
but
we have a PC.
Yeah, sure, right? And so you're not going to get them, but you may get enough people to where pulling off that Band-Aid and offering the game on PC and Xbox, and hopefully the cloud is better by then, it may be negligible to you in 2027. So I don't think we can look at the landscape today and say, oh, they can't do it. And I also don't want to be in the business of saying what a $2 trillion company can and can't afford to do, because they are playing like a long 10-year game. You know what I mean?
Let me quickly reach these super chats. So Viper XT, thank you so much for the $5 Canadian. Because Jim Ryan is rallying his troops. Ponies are emailing the CMA to try and stop this deal.
No, we're not. We got a PC. We don't have to worry about this.
To be fair, a lot of my Xbox brothers in Christ have been going crazy at the CMA, calling them bought and paid for it, things like that. So there's enough stitching to go around.
Although CMA has some weaknesses in the structuring of their statement, I think a lot of it is a lot of weirdness there. I'm like, you guys need to relax. Hockey Channy, thank you for the $5 super chat. Goes, Jim is already working on his outrage note to Nintendo on keeping Mario games from PlayStation gamers. How dare they? No, he's alluding to Jim Ryan's statement is ridiculous, though. Come on, man. He goes, it sounds so entitled. Microsoft has only offered Call of Duty to remain for 3 years. After 20 years of Call of Duty, their proposal was inadequate on many levels. The company spent freaking $70 billion, man. You need to shut your mouth. If it was Sony could afford that, you wouldn't even have this question. COD would be boom.
You know what's
exclusive?
Most hilarious?
And I think Bungie should be exclusive to PlayStation.
Since when was Sony or Jim Ryan ever considerate of Xbox gamers?
This is what I'm saying.
This is what I'm saying. These are not your kids, right? Like, Jim Ryan, take care of your kids, pay your child support. Don't expect another man to take care of your kids.
That's what it sounds like. And you can see David Jaffe was laughing. He goes, what do you mean? It's not their job to take care of your gamers. You're in competition with them. Fix up. Call of Duty is a force. Yes. What did you buy Bungie for? You need first-person shooters? Go build it yourself. Don't look. To me, it makes PlayStation look weak. Someone thinks, look, well done, Jim Ryan. That's it. Go after Phil Spencer.
Jim Ryan, I think, is doing what any businessman in that situation would do. He's expressing those concerns because he's trying his best to keep it on his platform.
Concerns but it just makes it sound weak. Like PlayStation used to be this fort. It had an image. If you remember Ken Kutaragi in PlayStation 3 days, he laughed at the Xbox 360. He goes, we're a black belt. There's not even a brown belt.
How did that
when
work?
they come to that.
Listen, but hey, look, we can say they look weak, but numbers don't lie. PlayStation outselling the Xbox. They don't need it. There is no weakness at that point. Numbers don't lie.
No, but if they have the numbers, they're outselling. Why is he begging?
You're saying, but everyone's saying according to Jim Ryan. I'm saying according to the statistics, the numbers, right?
Yeah, but Jim Ryan's the leader. He's the CEO of PlayStation. He's there begging.
Yeah, and Phil Spencer's ahead of Xbox, and guess what? Yeah, but Xbox still hurting for games. You feel me? So at least Jim Ryan's at least being honest. How many of y'all Xbox players playing COD? Let's not even.
I don't play that shit. I'll play. I know you don't.
I know you don't play COD. You know what I'm saying?
I told Jay Barry I'm showing up to COD Sundays in my Sunday best as soon as the deal closed. Like,
ain't gonna get slapped.
Being Strictly, right? We actually
like, time to kill is too fast.
Strictly's pretty good at the game. Colt, thank you so much for the $5 super because I think this is a testing period to see if Game Pass growth outweighs the sales on PlayStation. Do you mean the growth once COD comes to Game Pass? If that's going to happen? Perhaps that's what it is.
Actually have
3 years of testing.
It doesn't have to be a 1-to-1 conversion rate, right? Like, there's only a subset of people you need to bring over in order to make up for those losses.
Change the tide, you mean?
Yeah. Well, not just change the tide, because what happens is, okay, I can sell you, COD once a year on PlayStation, and I'll get 70% of all the microtransactions you do in only in COD or Minecraft, whatever other games I have. But you are more valuable as a customer if you're buying your things in my ecosystem, because now I'm getting 30% of everything you do, not just my games. You know what I mean? So that a customer in the ecosystem is more valuable than a single sale on another ecosystem. So that we don't know what that number is. We'd have to have more data to make that thing, but it is lower. The threshold is lower. One other thing I did want to say about this. You have to understand with Jim Ryan, and I know like it does look like he's crying and it does look like he's weak or whatever. I fully agree. And if I'm Phil Spencer, like I said, if the deal closes at the round table, I'm going to wear a Stop Snitching shirt, right? But the thing is, Jim Ryan and the board have a fiduciary responsibility to their shareholders to make the most money that they can. And unless any regulators step in and there's things mandated via undertakings or consent decrees, Sony will not have a leg to stand on in those negotiations. So unless the regulators mandates that Microsoft keep COD on PlayStation in a certain way, PlayStation will have to take whatever is offered.
It's going to be on PlayStation.
No, but that's not the point. You mean what are the terms under which it is on PlayStation?
Yeah, for sure.
And if this is basically trying to get some teeth in those negotiations, because you have nothing unless the regulators give you something to stand on. Because other than that,
absolutely, that's why Sony's doing what it's doing. It's all a very public affair, and they can write the balance there. Absolutely.
I do think it's going to get a lot worse in the terms of the battle of words before it gets better.
Yes.
And I'm here for all
It's just begun.
Because Microsoft, they might pretend like they're nice people. And I've been telling people for years, Phil is not a nice man. It's just like you smile.
When it comes to business, this bullshit kumbaya mentality is so wrong, because console war is one thing. I console war, that's fine. That's for banter. For these companies, that's jobs, that's livelihoods. They benefit from all of it. So now you're starting to see the facade just completely fall away.
Like
Jim Ryan
Strictly, you might be a nice person to your neighbors, right? Like, but what happens when they start messing with your money?
Oh yeah, you know.
So Phil Spencer can do all of his smiling.
You know what's going down after that.
If this deal does not go through, they just have to pay Activision $3 billion.
Yeah, I mean,
they're not going to walk away from it and be like, oh, well, I don't want to use bad words. No, it's going to get ugly, I promise you. And it's probably not going to close till next year anyway.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree 100%.
No chance.
And, Phil is just, he's a liar, bro. Let's just keep it. Let's call it what it is. I mean, he been lying to the Xbox community.
I don't think that's a bald-faced lie. Jim Ryan is not exactly the.
I agree. Jim Ryan definitely mislead people, but Phil Spencer straight up lied to y'all. And here goes Jim Ryan calling out. Here goes Jim Ryan talking about him lying. So if
but you gonna trust a liar calling somebody a liar?
It's obvious that Phil Ryan's a liar. He's been lying to you all for like 5-6 years, like 2 generations. Like
I just think he was judicious with the truth, but that's one way of dressing up a lie. Hoggy Chatty, thanks so much for the $5 super chat. He goes, League of Legends has more players than Call of Duty. Fortnite has more players than Call of Duty. Just saying, there are already games that dwarf Call of Duty, and you're right. I don't agree. Call it is a force. Mass market appeal, yes, but the game industry is a lot more than the way these guys are making COD out to be. I really don't think
lawyers will argue all those things in the phase 2.
Absolutely.
And I've been trying to tell a lot of people, don't really worry about these words that the CMA is saying right now. I think it's like fog of war. We are in the middle of it. But, when we heard about the stuff in Brazil, we got it at the end where Microsoft got a chance to respond and all that. But it really feels like it's playing out the same way, because they look at a market, they talk to market participants, in this case, Sony, and I would argue probably Tencent and Amazon, because those are the people arguing about not being able to enter the market. That's not Sony arguing that. So then they are relaying those fears or concerns of market participants. Now in phase 2, this is why I knew Microsoft wouldn't answer in the 5 days, because you would be giving up concessions that you otherwise wouldn't have to. In phase 2, they will explain these things and explain how the market works and how, exclusives are what drive the market, and they'll have a chance to defend themselves. And this is why I think all of those things will be systematically shut down in the phase 2, and Microsoft wants that. So it's just the problem. It's going to take a little longer. So
phase 2 is where, for the people who don't.
A long time, everyone.
Hey man, next E3, baby.
We've been waiting for a lot of E3s, but like phase 2 is where the highest standard of proof is applied and more details. Phase 1 was a very cursory glance at the whole thing, and the CMA offering a very safe view on it, albeit with a statement that was riddled with some errors. Danny Passion Official, thanks so much for the $2 super chat, guys. Jim forgot that the contracts have expiration dates. And Z Black Rider, thank you for the $5 super chat.
If I'm Phil Spencer, I'm like, you know what? Now you only got 2 years. Say something else.
Doubt it.
I have always said put the fight up there. Then they make Bungie, said nope, they just make it exclusive to PlayStation. That's the kind of industry I want to be in. Z Black Rider, thank you for the $5 super chat, guys. Jim Crazy tweeting from the Royal Vauxhall. Hockey Channy, thank you for the $5 super chat, guys. Also, we assume that COD stays the way it is. Hopefully Call of Duty becomes different and we don't get annual games. We let the studio make other games. COD isn't. So Microsoft has announced they will make it biannual as well if they take over, which is going to be great potentially for the quality of those games, because annual COD releases have been a problem. And that's already another example of how Call of Duty under Microsoft is going to potentially do much better. Give more time, more resources. That necessarily doesn't mean a good game. Look at Halo, but I'm just saying give that more time, more breathing space. The staff, they had a lot of exodus and people moving and staff retention problems because of the way Activision Blizzard was run with Bobby Kotick. So I think it's going to be a thoroughly positive thing for Call of Duty, the IP. Let's see.
Hope so, man. I mean,
because skill-based matchmaking, baby, good.
But it's just, I could see COD going to free to play too. We don't know anything after 2024.
What about Warzone? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, not even Warzone, like the traditional multiplayer. Now I can see.
Don't say that.
Look, don't be shocked. Do not be shocked. It's just I can see it happening, bro.
Everything's been free to play. I'm so sick of that.
I can really see that happening. That again, that's just.
Well, they got Warzone 2 that's going to be free to play. They scratched that itch for the free to play now, because Warzone actually a great game.
But who's to say Warzone wasn't just a test though, like to see if people would be willing to just play multiplayer through a free to play. I think it's a high possibility.
I hope not. I'm more hoping that I can commit to the fact that they won't do it. I'm just hoping they don't, because that's when Call of Duty starts to really dilute.
I just hope it comes to Game Pass, because I'm not a COD person. The only way I'm playing that campaign is if it's no extra charge to my subscription.
I look forward to seeing that 0.5 KD.
Oh, it's terrible. You should see me in Halo. I'm even worse.
Me and you have the same KD, strictly.
Yeah, Modern Warfare 2019.
Yeah.
The only, the first thing I said when they announced this deal is, how many Segas did this cost?
Fuck Sega, man. This is what Special Nick was saying as well. It's like, what's gonna happen with? He wants the deal to fall through, because then they can buy Capcom.
Exactly. That's the only reason I care about this deal. I don't care about COD or
Xbox
WoW
being fearful the deal won't go through and start making excuses. If the deal falls through, make it very clear, chat. And I swear, if you disagree with me, something wrong with you, especially you, everybody. If COD fails,
yes,
it's the fattest L on Xbox. PlayStation's fanboys are going to be insufferable. I'm going to book a convenient holiday to some other country and go in hiding.
Block this deal, it will be the greatest move of his career. He deserves all of the raises and bonuses in existence. If Jim Ryan is successul at blocking the deal.
I don't think it's in Jim Ryan's hands, but if he can somehow do it. No.
It's not. Yes, it would be a catastrophe, right?
That's the word. Catastrophic fail. At the same time, conversely, an incredible W as well for Xbox if it does go through. But it's a fat L. Don't you dare. Don't you dare.
I know. I'm not disagreeing that. I'm just saying I need this to be done so they can move on to the bigger prize, which is Sega. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Pogsy with a 12-month membership. Hopefully nothing about Sega. How many COD casuals have actually picked up a PlayStation 5 yet? When they look for a new console after last gen ends, they'll jump on Xbox. That's what I was going to actually go into, Strictly. I doubt it. If you're marketing it and it's exclusive to Xbox and assuming Call of Duty, Asa, you've been quietly sitting there and I've been seeing you play with your Quest, and I know you don't like this topic that much about exclusivity, but Strictly disagrees. I would say what Pogsy is saying, Call of Duty ends up running its course as multi-platform this gen, and the next gen starts. Marketing is a fresh slate.
Also,
Xbox,
it'll be time
Call
for
of Duty
Warzone
exclusive.
3 at that time as well.
Let me say this. I think it definitely depends on the quality of COD at that point.
Yeah, that's a massive question mark. Absolutely.
Yeah,
if it's relevance as well.
Yeah, because
if
it was like a Modern Warfare 2 dropping, then that's going to be a big point to you why you should buy an Xbox if it was to be exclusive. But if it's not like a Modern Warfare 2 in which we're anticipating on being very good compared to like a Vanguard and a Cold War, it's that could be debated. So it definitely depends on the forecast on how COD is doing at that time.
In a market that might have changed immeasurably at that point anyway. But yeah, you're right. And Modern Warfare 2, by the way, you're great to pick that point. Modern Warfare 2 is very significant, people, because this is for COD hardcore people as well, and quality mark. It's his flagship. It is a flagship, so very exciting for COD fans. The equivalent of that, Asa. Next gen, boom. Assume that's a COD Modern Warfare 2-esque game. Surely that would cause a mass influx to Xbox, no?
What? Call of Duty. I'm just to go right back to the beginning. I've got very little to say. I don't play Call of Duty, don't plan to play Call of Duty, don't care about Microsoft's Activision Blizzard King Activision very much at all. Don't care if it goes through, don't care if it doesn't. Still, Jim Ryan's statement was fairly interesting in terms of the posturing going on. Because if Phil Spencer has committed to this 3 years, and then who knows, maybe it rolls, maybe it doesn't. Whatever you think is going to happen, it could go either way as far as I'm concerned. They could keep it on PlayStation, they could take it exclusive, whatever else. But for Jim Ryan to come out as publicly as he has, it's nothing but posturing. You can't call it anything else. He's been offered 3 years. He's obviously confident enough in the position that Microsoft are in or not in. He's obviously confident enough that they're not going to be able to reduce that number. There's not going to be any backlash on him. There's not going to be any penalty, besides 1,000 people on Twitter saying that they don't like him for whatever reason, which is insignificant, right? He doesn't care about that very much. But there's not going to be any material consequence to him for saying that they've only offered us 3 years. They're not going to reduce it to 2 or 1 or not at all and stick their fingers out. He's obviously confident there.
That's because they're not me. I'm petty. I would do it.
But he must think that there's more that Sony can get. He must have an angle. He's posturing for something. And whether that is a more firm commitment on Call of Duty, and like Everborn said like an hour ago, it would be ridiculous for Microsoft to commit to anything in perpetuity. So 3 years is already like outside of standard. But I don't think he can be angling for that. So he's obviously trying to put them on more shaky ground. He's obviously trying to get more concessions that favor Sony in some way or another, be it COD or be it otherwise. But my take is simple. Sure, there's some posturing going on. Not quite sure what Jim Ryan wants. Not sure he's going to get it.
I think he wants anything.
No.
Right? Like, that's anything he can get. Like, because other than that, you have nothing. So, like,
but it comes with a degree of confidence, right? So he's not like he's rolling a dice here in one way or another, but he obviously doesn't feel he's going to lose what they've already been offered. Because if Microsoft have offered them 3 years, they can take that away right now. They can say, all right, then this isn't the deal. Like, it's not a signed contract, it's a letter of intent or whatever. He obviously doesn't think those terms are going to get worse for him. So he's confident enough to try and get more. But
I think in Microsoft trying to close the deal, I think this is what they're saying, because they're really trying to get ahead of any concessions before they're forced on them. because it's, they're saying, okay, we're willing to do these things. It's the same thing with the unions here in the US. You remember when Elizabeth Warren and everybody got together and wrote with the CWA union to write that letter, and then they went and got ahead of that and got the CWA on their side. And so I think they're saying, listen, if you think exclusivity for COD is a concern, we're going to guarantee it's there for at least another 5 years. And we'll see after that. You know what I mean? And that's really a Microsoft throwing them a bone so that they're not forced to do anything. It's like concessions on your own terms, because that doesn't really hurt their bottom line to do that. What they don't want.
It would be stupid not to keep COD on PlayStation, period, because they're losing out on profit at that point. So it would just not be smart.
They've actually said that, Strictly. They've actually come out and said it makes no sense for us to keep it exclusive because it wouldn't be profitable. That's the words Microsoft used. And why wouldn't they? In fact, actually this week they revealed most players or Call of Duty players are on PlayStation. Why would
they know it's on PlayStation.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, today and for the next 3 to 4 or 5 years, it's going to be on PlayStation.
It is. Dan Lazaro, thanks so much for the $5 super. She goes, Jim Ryan is being a whiny little bitch. Let's take off the kid gloves and be real. Xbox owns it, doesn't owe PlayStation anything. Well, Xbox doesn't own it yet. It has to go through regulatory board. But I do agree. I still think it's so much horses for courses there. Like, you need to have a bit of an appetite. Use that. What PlayStation needs to do, and it has the pressure to do it, even when this goes through and this remains multi-plat, PlayStation has to not be comfortable like it was last gen. It needs to go be different, be weird, bring back the PlayStation 1 days of unique content that made PlayStation the force it was, and then it can really kick a hornet's nest. And I actually pray Bungie also. But I know they're different. They mandated being independent, but I prayed that they would be exclusive to PlayStation.
Can I ask Strictly a question as the resident PlayStation fan on the panel today? Would you not agree that every sort of instance in history where we see these in gaming or just in tech in general, once a company is given serious competition that actually threatens their bottom line or sometimes their existence, that's when we see their best work?
Absolutely, no question.
Right? I think that the only time, Sony really got competition in the PS3 days, and that led to the PS4 and all the things that they fostered there, right? Nintendo got their teeth kicked in with the Wii U, and then we got the Switch, right? I think Microsoft got their teeth kicked in with the Xbox One, and now we see all this investment that they're doing in an attempt to compete. So for me, I think we might all be better. And again, I'm with Asa. I don't care about COD, but if Sony was in a position to where, okay, you can't rely on COD anymore, I don't think Sony goes humbly or quietly into the night. They're going to turn up like they've done every time.
That's why they have like three first party studios working on first person shooters. The Deviation is working on a first person shooter. Firesprite is also working on a first person shooter. And I think Haven is as well. So I mean, competition is always going to breed the better product for the consumer. So you'll never hear me, I have fun, every now and then bashing Xbox. I don't really, console war too much anymore, but that's why I want Xbox to do better. I have Stalker 2 pre-ordered, even though it's, post or delayed.
You got your money back yet?
And definitely, no, I didn't, I didn't. So, but I have that pre-order, you know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, I want Xbox to put out quality products that I personally enjoy, because that means more great, amazing experiences for me as a gamer. Listen, I'm a PlayStation fan second, but I am a gamer first. My first console was a Nintendo. So at the end of the day, man, as a consumer, competition only breeds a better product. Period.
Absolutely. That's where I'm driving home on this thing. If you took away COD from PlayStation, best chance of Sony ever delivering a first-person shooter worth its salt would be when that happened.
And let me correct this. Yeah, Deviation is not like fully acquired by PlayStation, so let me put that out there. But they are making a game specifically for PlayStation and PC.
Okay, exclusive to the PlayStation. So the same thing.
So let me make sure I preface that.
Yeah, that's all good. Patrick, thanks so much for being a member for 5 months. Because Sony has 6 years to make something. Have COD now and have the best studios in gaming. Make a first-person shooter finally. And Asa, I like that shirt. Patrick, you're right, and I do hope Sony do. That's the thing that excites me most is what Sony will do. When in the first person space, they're making a lot of people. Okay, yes, fine. The narrative didn't suit the ponies about live service and first person. They're derided there, a lot of that, but that's where you're going to see Sony really deliver on what was traditionally their weaknesses.
I have a question though. Does Sony's COD competitor or theoretical COD competitor, does it necessarily have to be a first person shooter?
No,
right? Because they're working on 12 service games.
SOCOM could be good.
Yeah, but it depends on the market they're trying to tap into. Because people, like, for example, we have Fortnite, right? And obviously it's a multi-platform title. I'm just using this example because it's third person. Factions is going to be third person. So I do think you have to rival that some way. So for example, with COD, yeah, they have to make a first person shooter because the most people that play COD are paying it for that first person experience. No, for a COD person, if they're not feeling COD like that, they're not going to leave Call of Duty and go play Fortnite. That's not their thing. They're going to find another first-person shooter. Hence, why you always see COD, Halo, Battlefield, those type of comparisons because of first-person shooters.
No, 100%. I guess the reason I'm saying that is because I always roll my eyes when someone says, "Okay, what's the leader in the market? Now this is the killer." Right? Everybody used to try to make the Halo killer, and then
and Halo kills itself.
Shut up. But people are if you go out attempting to make an iPhone killer, or in this case, what we're talking about here, a COD killer, I don't know if that is what's it. What is going to be the next big thing is going to be something new, a new experience that is not trying to be a better version of something else. You know what I mean? Because people will see that. And it's just going to look like you're a try-hard as opposed to making something individual. And I think Sony's thing will be something that's not necessarily just a better COD.
Yeah, but again, we'll never really know this metric, but it depends on who they're trying to tap into, what market. Because we'll never know how many COD players went from COD to factions. They may play both. Yeah. But the point is, and this was an article a while back, I forgot exactly who said it, but PlayStation, they want something like a Fortnite type game, which is factions because ironically it's third person. So just those players just may like, first person and third person experiences or whatever, but we're not ever going to be able to know who went from COD to factions or COD to whatever game they play. And I don't think that it needs to necessarily be a COD killer. I think it could be a first person shooter, but if it can foundationally do a lot of things right in a first person shooter space, then it's going to thrive.
Yeah. And, Destiny is an example. Like, to me, that is, it is a first person shooter, but what they were doing in the console space was so different at the time. Yeah. It stood on its own. And now everybody tried to make a Destiny killer and failed. Right. So I just think it has to be something like that. They have to find a new hook that we don't have today.
That's a good point. And I do think that the next, let's say, Halo killer or something like that, there has to be a shift. It can't be a copy and paste attempt. Next big thing will do something bigger or different or unique. And there's actually a video that I had in mind what the Halo killer will be, what that game looks like and what it needs to do. And it's quite divergent from what we're used to, not a copy and paste. But that's a good, Yeah,
and I think it's not necessarily like you said, Halo killer, COD killer, all of that type of things. Like it's one of those things to where I think most people don't know what it looks like, but when they play it, they'll know.
When you see it, you know it.
Yeah. It'll be that moment.
It'll be that moment. So I just think that we're gonna have to go off the word of mouth for that. The general consensus to things. But we will know it when we see it. So
Yeah, it could be something like just instantly, like, oh shit, that's the one. That's it. And when you play it, like Elden Ring for a lot of people was that for the casuals.
That was my first Souls game, and it's my game of the year right now.
Exactly. So it did that, and it schooled a lot of games in game design. Danny Passion official, thank you for the $2.
Shit about that game before I played it,
and then you and your game of the year. Yeah. Daddy Passion official, thank you for the $2 super chat. Goes Everborn show, please breathe. Jim, Call of Duty on PlayStation forever. I don't know what you're saying there, but thank you for the super chat. Thank you so much, So Dragon, for the $5 super chat. It goes, how many years does Sony think they will get they will get from the CMA? Aren't they already almost a monopoly in Europe? I think Hagi would have a few comments on monopoly.
It's like 4-1 in the UK. It's not like how it is here in the States.
Yeah, no. But Sony in Europe is slapping Xbox away.
Which is weird how they even taken seriously with these concerns in the UK.
Well, Microsoft is a freaking big. Xbox is getting slapped around. Microsoft shits on Sony. You could actually buy Sony like it's nothing.
But the CMA says they only are looking at things specific to this market. So they really.
Yeah, but there's a lot of speculative there. Size. New entrants. How do you define that? Or who's that? In the subscription.
I think that
space.
was Tencent that was hating for that one.
Tencent. There's Amazon, jostling for that space. Google could make a foray there. PlayStation isn't in the equation there. That's why
But that's why you see the success of PlayStation is now, because they have to be way more strategic in how they move. They don't have the capital that Microsoft has, as Sony to Microsoft. And
that's what regulators were. It sounds like they're safeguarding Sony because they're like, so a lot of people like, and I said this,
you have to.
Yeah. Sony is the market leader. Why are we being so nice to try and safeguard their position? But at the same time, Sony's also an amoeba of a company compared to a giant like Microsoft, who could potentially just destroy it. So any regulator worth their salt will have to consider that. So a lot of Xbox are going crazy about that point. But you need to recognize the market force that in play. Sony's small fry, despite the fact that it's
this is more than COD going exclusive. Way more than that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
and this is what the regulators have a hard job of getting a crystal ball out, because whatever decision, if they let this through, what are the ramifications for competition? I will say that Microsoft's lawyers are insane. They will, and the tentacles go deep. Political exercise alone.
It's going to pass. It's going to happen. I just think it depends on the wording, the contract, what exactly,
and the conditions.
The condition is what I'm getting at. Yeah, absolutely. That's
what I think the best case scenario is for Sony, if they can somehow lead the regulators, or at least in specific regions, to believe that Microsoft shouldn't be allowed to put COD day one in Game Pass, so they'll have some kind of a delay in it. That's what Microsoft wants, but that would be a huge W for Sony, right? Because now
I can't see that happening. I cannot see that happening.
I think
they
Microsoft
would be overextending themselves to kill a market that hasn't even really begun to thrive. Yeah. And to offer customers value, you are taking away that value. They would be ridiculous any regulator to push that.
Not to mention crossplay. You're going to be forcing a lot of Xbox players to just play with PC. So I'm just putting that out there, so, but again, I honestly don't think it's going to be exclusive. We kind of went down that lane, so there's no point now, but yeah, I mean,
I think it'll be 3 years. I think they'll stick to the 3 years. Most likely, this is guessing on my part, 3 years plus, in addition to the 2 years contract, 2027. You'll have it, and then a new gen starts. COD remains exclusive to Xbox. By then, who knows whether COD is even in the same breath in terms of stature. But yeah, gents, I think we've gone past that by actually just over 2 hours. But I think we've talked about that enough. Call of Duty I say enough. It's just begun though, because expect a Phil Spencer response. expect the FCA still need to open their mouth, and really the devil is in the details. Phase 2 is going to happen. We're going to hear whether or not that passes. That's going to set a kind of a mental kind of, well, the FTC, sorry, not the FCA. FTC, we're going to look into it, and it's going to set an example for them to follow.
About it either.
Huh?
The EU hasn't spoken about it either, because that's separate from the UK.
Yeah, so the CMA's
and China,
especially post Brexit. China, well, maybe with Tencent's arm, they might make a fuss, but then they themselves don't want to bring the attention to the fact that they've been buying out. So I don't expect much there, or the regulators to even take much stock into what Chinese saying. But if Chinese jurisdiction talking about it, they're the last peoples in the world to really talk about it, considering Tencent's aggressive expansion. Before we go, let me read these super chats. Outbreak Podcast, thank you for the $5 super chat. With future COD being on Game Pass day and date, Xbox will win the long game. So keep it on Sony, but no extras for PlayStation. Gaz, bring the source. That's the thing that I'm going to say. Like, the mass market, forget extra features. When people say to them, I'm not paying 70 quid for COD, it's on like Game Pass, then they'll be like, what's Game Pass? It's like Netflix. You only pay a monthly subscription. Oh yeah? All right, I'm definitely doing that. That is a real conversation I've had with multiple people, by the way, who aren't core gamers. They're your casuals at work.
I didn't even ask about games. None of them cared. Guy's just like massive shield, goes around London like, oh, have you heard about Game Pass? It's the best value. So fucking irritating.
I'm not selling Game Pass.
I do have a do you guys think that the effects would be more far-reaching in terms of offering COD in a service like Game Pass day one? Because I feel like the two models exist today because Sony has delivered a certain level of quality, with their Spider-Mans and Ghost of Tsushima's, Last of Us and things like that. So the perception is that these games are high profile and they're worth $70. And in Game Pass, we've had a few big ones like Halo Infinite when it first launched. I think it launched well. That's different from where it is now. Forza Horizon 5. So, but by and large, Microsoft hasn't really started delivering the big high quality games there. So it's like older hot AAA games or like, really cool indie games. But once you have a game like COD in that service, what does it do to the consumer's perception of the value of, games as a whole? And I don't mean they devalue it, but I do mean, do they start to look at Sony's pricing model and say, no, if a game like COD can go in Game Pass, why can't the Spider-Man 2 go in this thing? Is there any effect there? And is Sony worried about that?
Yeah, I think there'll be an effect. I just don't know to what extent. Because
none of us do.
We won't ever know this information because there's too many people. But I think from the casual gamer that doesn't play the Horizon, things like that, no, it won't really affect them because they're getting it just to play COD. So yeah, I mean, But
I will say this: a big chunk of that 70 billion is attributed to COD, and primary thing is in the conversations with Sony, it's in the conversations with Microsoft. Game Pass, COD, Game Pass, COD, for a reason. Because once, like you said, Everborn, in the question, it was a question, but you're alluding to this reality, and I do think it's a reality. When COD hits Game Pass, massive Absolutely. Change to the image for the masses. Massive change. The marketing just for Game Pass, Call of Duty Day One, massive.
Yeah,
so Microsoft Mindshare would be mad. Combine that with, not even next gen. Combine that, just boom, just Game Pass, Call of Duty Day One. That's it.
Yeah.
If COD can't make Game Pass subs spike, nothing can.
Now, and one other thing. Guys, just one other thing. To this end. Another issue is if enough casuals go over to the Xbox ecosystem because of COD or COD as a catalyst or the now new perception of Game Pass, a lot of the moves that Sony makes, Final Fantasy and Forspoken and all these other deals that they get, they are afforded that because they are the front runner. if the race becomes closer, I don't think they can maybe still be able to lock down the same amount of second and third party exclusives that they can, because the Xbox ecosystem could potentially be too large for developers and publishers to forego. And that is another concern that is tangentially related to just Xbox gaining more market share.
Absolutely, and that's in the forefront of Sony's mind when they come to contest this. And something Acer has said for a long time. Third-party, multi-platform, that mind share. And if Xbox comes to, it's not there yet. Let's be real. But if Xbox ever comes to a stage where Japan can't ignore it, and everyone's like, we can't ignore the Xbox user base with these timed exclusive deals, despite the money up front, the cash capital isn't enough. Yeah. I don't know if it will get there anytime soon, but if we do, then that's big trouble for Sony. But that is a concern, absolutely. Z Black Rider, thanks so much for the $5 Canadian. Because Sony has been a piece of shit since 1985. What history have you Z's been reading?
He sounds salty, man. You gotta.
I don't know what that means. I don't know what's Sony been doing since the year I was born. I don't know. What the hell are you alluding to there?
Sony have a fair few things in their history, yeah, but.
I remember they did some
rootkits on CDs and things like that.
Rootkits. That's what's going to say that. But that's not 1985. What?
No, I don't know as far back as that.
Then.
But yeah. Their first, the very first thing they came to market with, their rice cooker, they totally stole somebody else's design. I'm going to go with that.
Perhaps. Hargy Chatty, thank you for the $5 super chickens. Remember, they were introducing Game Pass Family and Friends, which will make it even better for casuals. $5 includes games and Xbox Live Gold, which alone is $5 a month. Yeah, I do think that's a really good value. Hargy Chatty, thank you for the $5 super chickens. The Riot Games deal and Game Pass is also huge and will likely spike subs, which is something we complained about because it didn't interest us. But PC gamers, man, League of Legends is huge, and Valorant. I've paid so much on that stupid game, but it's a good game. But that that matters. League of Legends matters. These are big things that they will cause a spike in Game Pass subs. Calvus Alvarado, thank you so much for the $2 super chat. Shout out to Strictly. Hope to see him come back. Absolutely, if he enjoyed himself.
I appreciate you, bro.
Yeah, shout out to you, man. Cole Eastwood, are you being altruistic or just passive aggressive? I think Microsoft needs to revise their PR training for you influence. Counter-Striker throwing shade at Cole Eastwood. Counter-Striker also having an intolerance for Xbox and all things quality. Counter-Striker, why? Why are you the way you are? It's just silly. All Day Protein, I see your chat. Jim Ryan is a little bitch and a hypocrite regarding COD. And on that note, I think, ladies and gentlemen, we leave it there. Cole Eastwood, yes, I surmise he's upset. Cole, you have a lot of people who want to hate on you for some reason, but pulling really bad tweets for some reason, thinking they've got a win on you, but doesn't seem that way. Okay, anyway, gents, absolutely very nuanced, very deep chat on this whole thing. I thought it was going to get really messy. I was kind of hoping it would, but I'm a messy person like that. I'm a messy person, but it was very, very good chat. Genuine takeaway is it's going to get messy. Ubisoft sucked. Marvel sucked. Jim Ryan sucks. So does Phil Spencer. They're all lie. Ultimately, don't trust corporations, but it's us gamers that are going to win. So yeah, exactly. Shout out to everyone. Also, shout out to the PlayStation and Xbox and ponies, whatever you call yourselves. You guys have been relatively well behaved. Pixel Sapper has been trying to be funny in chat, but the rest of you guys have been brilliant, and that's what we want more of.
It's all good, chat. No hard feelings. Y'all be all right. Exactly. Y'all know the vibes. At the end of the day, just know I need more games from Xbox. When I get them, you know what I'm saysaying? I'm going to be good.
Absolutely.
That's what that 3090 is all about.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've said this we released a video on it, and we have another video coming out on the state of gaming as well, and a very special source video, which is quite intimidating to edit at the moment. Gents, Strictly, it has been a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on, bro. Like, we didn't get to do this at the start, but before you do go, I hope you had a good time, man, and tell the people what is Strictly Gaming about and what's in store if they want to hear more from you, which I'm sure they will.
Yes, sir. First of all, absolutely for having me here, man. Shout out to you, reaching out and, us chopping it up, man. Shout out to Everborn, Essa as well. Just glad to be here, man. Pleasure's all mine. And look, I'm all about gaming. I don't care if you game on PC. I don't care if you game on PlayStation, Xbox, whatever it may be. Just, keep it gaming, be respectful.
What if you game on mobile?
And look, as long as they gaming, just don't come over to my side trying to, mess shit up. That's all I ask. Yeah, but yeah, even them, you feel me? But yeah, man, I'm just about gaming, man. Keep it gaming, be respectful to people. Don't be a piece of shit. And hey, man, look, you can catch me on Twitter at STLCTY03. I'm always talking gaming, man. As long as you're respectful, I'll try to reply. Can't reply to everything, but, I'll try to, depending on what it is. So, yeah, man, it's all love.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much, man. It was an absolute pleasure. And you killed it as I expected. And Isla, thank you so much for linking Strictly stuff in the chat. It's also in the description below. Please do check it out. And he's pretty raw at COD. Me and him make actually a good team. I can't wait to play with your full squad. I think we quite good. Call outs, man. Everything was on point. We were just there like I'd played with you for years. Really good. Agreed. Good fun. It was fun, man. Last but certainly not least, it's a man of many talents and also many questions. You asked and posed quite a few questions, really poignant ones as well. Like, what is the rationale behind some of the things we discuss? I like that, Everborn. Everborn, I hope you had a good time on your debut on this show.
Fantastic time, and I hope you guys didn't realize I was trying to lead the witness.
No, we clocked that. We clocked that early on. But because you have your fingers in a lot of pies, tell our viewers.
Yes. So Everborn Saga is an entire universe that I've been working on for the better part of a decade. It is a sort of, if you're into anime, if you're into fantasy, I like to call this Lord of the Rings meets X-Men. It is 4 different series that are all telling the same story, and the characters sort of intermingled and their stories cross paths. So we are 7 chapters into this epic fantasy story that we're trying to tell, and it started from a video game that I made back in 2015 for the Windows Phone. It was a mobile game, but we are now making series out of each of the games, and making games out of each of the series, and each series will have its own game, and each of the games are love letters to my favorite games in the 16-bit era of gaming. So the Redlands, which is the game we're working on now, that is a beat 'em up in the style of Streets of Rage and TMNT. Ariel's Adventure is what I like to call a Mariovania style of game. It rewards unlocking power-ups that allow you to go and replay levels and get to different aspects of the levels. Prince of Arcadia is going to be a turn-based RPG and like JRPG style, and The Remnant, which is our new series we're working on, is going to be top-down action RPG a la Link to the Past. So Everborn is sort of just a physical manifestation of everything I loved growing up. Manga, games, fantasy, all that. So check it out. Go to everbornsaga.com right now. We also have merch like you see here and the wall art you see back there. And you can get your hands on the books right now. You can also buy that Charge Them More t-shirt for any time you hear somebody on Twitter capping about wanting to pay more for games, show them that t-shirt. It is literally, if you go to it right now, that link, right? It's on sale down from $69.99 to $29.99. So you can buy that shirt right now. No, I'm not even joking.
$69.99.
Yeah.
Wow. Well done. Well played there. Well played, sir. My God, I can't believe you priced that at $70. Yeah, thank you both gents for killing it.
Link in the chat if you want to see it, because a lot of people think I'm joking when I say that. I didn't.
Yeah, no, you did. That's brilliant. Asa, before I go, let me link strictly your stuff in the chat again. Asa, Hope you had a good time. You're sitting there quietly, more so than normal, but I know some of these topics weren't really for you unless it's VR related. But what's in store for your viewers? I know you have a loyal following.
Yeah. I did. So on Thursday, I did my almost 2-hour show that I always do. I managed to not talk about Activision Blizzard King or Jim Ryan at all for the whole thing. It was wonderful. I liked that.
How'd you do that?
I just don't care about it.
I haven't been able to do it.
But I should be on my VR treadmill running around probably Skyrim again tomorrow. I played a few things on the VR this week. Still getting properly frustrated at Octopath Traveler, which I had a little rant about on Twitter. Playing some games, doing some things, sticking around GameOnDaily, maybe a little bit on Twitter, but I hate it there. So thank you, these gents, for coming on and carrying the show while I sat quietly. Do check out their content. That's it for me. So I'll see you in the week.
Absolutely. Tomorrow, hopefully we have a video of reactions of Ubisoft and how shit it was, but watch it because it's quite funny considering the banter we had in the back. And also have a source video where the content is being written as I talk, because Nick Marseille is talking shit. I can't wait to destroy him again and again. Everyone in chat, do bear in mind the spirit in this series is comedic. I'm a piece of shit. And on that note, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button, and we'll see you very soon. Take care.